and this is going to be register page. So did I call the view there? So we'll do register page like that. So I can copy that, save it, bring that to the URL, paste that in, save it, and now we have two links. So in the template here, we are going to point the user to the register page here if they're not, or if they want that option here. So in Figma here, we have a design for the register page. So on the login page, we ask, haven't signed up yet, and then we have a signed up or a sign up link. And then on the register page, we'll say already signed up, and we're going to point the user back to the login page. So let's go ahead and ask that question right here. So we'll ask that after the form, and we'll say, haven't signed up yet. So we'll ask a question, and then we're going to add in a link here, and that's pointing back to this page. And we're just going to say register or sign up. I guess that's two words. And we're going to create the link itself, and we're going to point that to the register page. Okay, so in this case, we're going to take this same question, and we're going to put that underneath the register form, and we'll say already signed up. So we're asking the question, and we're just going to send the user back to login. And this will be the login page. Okay, so we passed in the page value here for a reason. So in this case, all I'm going to do is check if the page is login. If it is, we'll render out the login form. And if it's not, we'll render out the register form. So we'll just add in the question right here. So we'll just do if page is equal to login. Then we'll just do end if. And if we'll close it, and then we'll add in the else statement between the two divs here. So we're just going to separate those. We'll just do else, and let's save that. So just a little bit of prep work. Let's go back here and let's check this out. So haven't signed up, we go to this page, and then already signed up, we can go to the login page. Now Django has a user creation form that already makes a lot of this easy for us. So we'll go ahead and add this in here. So we'll just go ahead and make an import here really quick. So let's see, I need a second here. I just need to remember what the actual import was. So we'll go back to the view. So we have the template and the URLs here, and let's go back to the views or views.py, and let's just import this. So this is going to be from django.contrib.auth.forms, and we're just going to import the user creation form. So it works a lot like the model forms that we've already used. So we're actually going to customize this form later, but for now, we're just going to work with the defaults here. So we'll copy this, and we're going to bring this down into the register view. So we'll go ahead and pass in form, and this is going to be user creation form. I just pasted that in, and we want to pass this into the template here. So we'll just do form or the context dictionary. So we'll just throw that in right here, and we'll throw in form. Okay, so at this point, I guess we don't actually need the register page variable because we already have that for login, and register shows in the else statement. So we're just going to pass in the form into the context dictionary. Now let's take this form value and let's go into this page here, and let's just render this out. So underneath our CSRF token and between our submit button, let's just go ahead and pass in form.as_p. Remember, as p wraps the paragraph tags, which makes the styling a little bit better. So if I save this, let's go ahead and check out what this looks like. So we'll go to login. If I go to sign up, now we have an entire registration page. Now later on, I'm going to want the user to submit things like their avatar or their profile picture, maybe their name, their email here, and so on. But for now, we're going to leave it like this until we get to the customization. And now there's a reason why I'm leaving that for later, because we're going to have to customize a few things here, and I just want to kind of focus on the basics here. So we have a registration form here, and now we can actually process this. So let's go ahead and actually go through this. So we'll go ahead and go into the view now. We have our form, we pass in the token, we set the method here, and let's continue. So we want to check the method here. So we'll just do request.method or request.method. If this is equal to post, let's go ahead and process this form. So we're going to do form here, form, and that's going to be user creation form. And we want to go ahead and actually pass in the data. So we'll do request.post. So that's going to be the password and the username and all the credentials that we send. Then we want to check if the form is valid. So if form.is_valid. So this is all pretty redundant here at this point. We've done this before. So if the form is valid, then let's go ahead and process the user. Now we're going to want to customize this user submission here. So we can actually do something like this. So we'll just do form or actually we're going to do user, and we're going to do form.save, and we're going to commit this to false here. So commit is going to be equal to false. So technically what we're doing is we're actually saving this form and we're like freezing it in time here because we want to be able to access the user that was created, meaning if the form is valid, the user is going to get created, but we want to be able to access the user right away. So to do that, we have to just add in commit is equal to false so we can actually get that user object. So the reason why we want to do this is if for some reason the user added in like a uppercase in their, or they capitalized their name or maybe their email, depending on how they're registering, we want to make sure that that's lowercase automatically. So we want to be able to clean, we actually want to be able to clean this data. So let's go ahead and do user.username. So we got the user that was just created, and we're just going to do user.username.lower. So we're getting the current user's name and we're going to update it to a lowercase method. So we're just making sure that that name is cleaned. So once we have that, we can actually save this user. So we'll just do user.save. And I actually noticed one thing here. I want to take this lowercase method and I actually want to add this into the login method, because what if the username is one way and then when they log in, they accidentally capitalize something. So in this case, we want to take the username and we'll just do .lower also in the login method. So we just want to get rid of that issue here. There's different ways of doing that too. So once we register a user, we can go ahead and just redirect a user. So we can just do redirect, and we want to send the user back to the home page. So we'll just do return, redirect, and we're going to send the user back to the home page. Now, before we do this, I also want to log a user in. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to use the login method. So we have that method. We're just going to throw in request, and we pass in the user object. So the user that just registered, we're going to log them in, send them to the send them to the home page. Now, if something didn't go correct here, let's go ahead and process this. We'll just do else here, and I'm going to use a flash message here. So we're going to do messages.error. So if there was an error, let's see, I think we just need to pass in request. So we're going to pass in request and then the actual message here. So let's try this. We'll throw in request, and then we'll just say an error. So an error occurred during registration. Here, let me just move this down so you can see it. During registration. And is that supposed to be 2 R's? Okay, so yeah, that's supposed to be 2. So now we want to output this error. Now you can add in different types of error handling for maybe if a username already exists in the database, you can do this with JavaScript or in the backend. There's a bunch of different ways that we can actually go about this. But for now, we're just going to look for any kind of error in registration. So we pass in the user data, we throw that into the user creation form, we check if the form is valid. If it is, we get the username, we make sure that the username is lowercase, we save the user, we log the user in, and then we send the user to the home page. So let's give this a try now. So we'll go ahead and first I want to throw in that error. So let's just try this. We'll throw in something like this, and we'll just make sure the passwords don't match or something like that. So we'll just click register, and we see that error. So an error occurred during registration. So we'll go ahead and try that again. Let's see. We'll just do Eric for the name. So we'll throw in Eric, type in a username and password, and we'll confirm that. And let's go ahead and hit register. And it looks like we are good to go. So I'm officially logged in. And just to test this out, let's go ahead and add something into the header bar. So we'll go to the navigation bar and we'll just say if request.user is authenticated. Let's just output some text that says hello and then the username. So we'll just do hello and then request.user. So request.user, and let's check this out. So if I refresh this, now I'm logged in as Eric. So there we go. We can add in new users. This user is now in the database. So we just took care of login, log out, restricting pages, and registration. So what I want to focus on next is going to be user comment creation here. So if we go to a room here, so let's say I want to go to, I want to learn HTML. I'm logged in as Eric at this point. I want to be able to actually make comments and join the conversation here. So let's go ahead and first work on the room page. So we'll close out the nav bar, close out registration and our URLs. And I promise we'll get to styling here in a little bit here. We're almost there. So we'll go ahead and go to templates. We'll go into room and let's see what we have here. So at this point, I also want to add in the room description if we have one. So we'll just do room.description. Okay, so we throw in the description, and I also want to output the comments that already exist in this room. So if we have a comment here, I want to make sure to output that. So let's see. At this point, let's just go ahead and add in another div here. So we'll create a div, and this is going to be to output the actual conversation. So we'll just do comment-wrapper. And let's just add in some kind of h3 tag, and we'll just say conversation. So we want to be able to output this, throw in some kind of line break, and let's output all the conversation or the comments. So let's see, why is this div? Oh, I didn't close this up here. Okay, so inside of the room view, we'll go down here, room, let's just get all the comments here. So we'll just get all the children of this room. So let's just go ahead and do comments or messages. Let's just do that. So we'll do messages, and this is going to be equal to room.message_set.all. And I just realized we haven't talked about this yet, so or at least I don't think we have. So message_set.all. This can be tricky for the first time if you just see this. Now we can query child objects of a specific room here. So if we take the parent model, in this case we have a room. To get all the children, all we have to do is specify the model name, and in this case it's message, and we don't put that in a capital letter, we put that in a lowercase value. So message, the model name, and then we can do _set.all. So it's basically saying give us the set of messages that are related to this specific room. So we got the room, and now we got all the messages. So let's go ahead and pass those into the context dictionary. We got all the messages, and in here we can just go ahead and loop through and output all of those. So we'll just create the for loop. So for message in messages, close out that loop. So end for, and I'm gonna wrap these inside of a div. So we'll throw in the div right there. And let's see, we just wanna output like the username and the message. So let's see what this is gonna look like in the end here. So we'll go back to the actual room design. So we're going to output this. We're going to output the title, hosted by, and then the tag, which we won't worry about in detail. So let's just output the username, when this was posted or when this comment was posted, and then the actual message here. So the username, message, and the time since it was posted. So let's go ahead and do this. So we'll create some kind of span tag. Let's just do small. And at first we want to output the username. So we'll just go ahead and do message.user. So we're outputting their name. Then we're going to create some space, and we can just do message.created. So message.created, and there is actually a filter that I can add to this. So let's go ahead and actually check this out first. So we'll refresh that, and let's see where we have a conversation. So let's see. Let's learn JavaScript. I think I added in some messages here. So I can see these messages right here. And we have a small issue here because those messages inside of the Django Flash messages are showing up here too. So we want to rename this actually. So let's change this to room messages here. So in the template, that's how they're being output, and that's going to give us an issue. So we'll just do room and then messages, and we'll camel case that. Actually, let's just do _m. So room messages like that. So we'll change this name right here. Let's go back to the room. Let's do for message in room messages. We'll remove that. So we get those removed right there. And now we can see each message. So Dennis and Tim were added or were messaging in this room. And then we can see the time. So I don't want to actually see the date. What I want to do is have like a time since stamp here. So if I posted this like a minute ago, I want to be able to see like posted 1 minute ago or 5 days ago, whatever that value is. So to do this, I can actually add in a pipe here. So that's going to be a filter, and we can do time since. I believe that's how it is right there. So if I add that in and refresh that, now I can see 20 hours ago or 20 hours and 10 minutes ago here. So we'll just add in a go like that. So we'll add in a space here. And there we go. So Dennis posted 20 hours and 10 minutes ago. Tim commented 20 hours and 9 minutes ago. And what I'm going to do here is filter these down to only get the most recent message. So we'll just go ahead and I can actually add in order underscore by like this. And we're going to order by the created value. So in this case, I want to order it by descending order. So the newest will be first, and we'll just do created. So the most recent message at this point should be first. So there we go. So those just flip their order. So now we can see the actual message. So we'll close this out right here. And I also want to output the actual message value. So for now, the styling is just going to be pretty rough here. So let's just add in a line break so there is separation. And we'll add in a paragraph tag. And we'll just do room dot or message dot body. Okay, so we'll throw that value in and let's check this out. Okay, so we see hey, hi, and that's the conversation. Now, once we have that, I want to be able to actually create the user comment section. So let's do this one thing here. Let's make sure that a user can actually edit their own messages. Actually, we'll do that in a second. So let's first actually add in the form here. So inside of our comment wrapper, we're going to create another div. So we're going to create the div, and this is going to be comment-form. So we're going to bring that in, and we'll just add in the form here. And this form here, the method is going to be a post method. The action, well, it's going to be sending a post request to the room view here. So we're good with that. We can send it to the same view. And we'll just add in a CSRF token. So we'll do CSRF underscore token. And let's actually add in the comment here. So even though this is a text field here, I'm going to add in an input field here. So I want to try to minimize the length of these messages. I want to maybe encourage users to add in more messages. So in this case, we're just going to do type of text here, because if I add a text area field, it's going to leave us a little bit too much space here. So let's go ahead and set the name. We'll add in the body and placeholder. Let's see, what am I going to write here? So in here, we're just going to say write your message here. So it's going to be a smaller field. So we'll just go ahead and do write your message here, ... Okay, so let's check this out. And there we go. So we see that, and I'm not going to add in like a submit button, because when a user hits enter, that's when I want to render that out. Now, I also want to make sure only an authenticated user can write a message. So we'll go ahead and create a condition here. We'll just say, let's see, we'll do if request.user.is_authenticated. Can never spell that word. So we'll just add in the end if right here. So we'll just do end if. Let's try this out. Refresh it. If I log out here, go to a room, or that's in create. So let's just do let's learn JavaScript. Now I don't see that form. If I log in as Eric, so we'll just do Eric here. I'm logged in. We'll go to let's learn JavaScript, and now I can see this form here. So let's go ahead and actually create the message itself here. So we want to submit the post request. So we'll go back to the view, and this is going to send a post request to the room view. So we'll go into room, and we want to create a condition here. So in the room view here, let's go ahead and process this. So we'll scroll down here, and we're just going to say if request.method is equal to post. So if this is a post method, let's go ahead and set message. And this is going to be message dot object or objects dot create. So we haven't used this method yet. We've been using a model form. And by the way, I need to import message here. So I haven't imported that. So we'll import it, save it, bring it down here, and we'll go back to the room. So we've been using the model form, and that kind of auto generates it for us. Now we have a create method, so we can use a save method to update something, or we can do create, and this method does what it kind of sounds like. It's just going to go ahead and create the actual message. So what I can do here is go into the model fields here. So we'll go into message. We want to set the user, the room, and the body here. So let's go ahead and first set the user, and that's going to be the logged in user. So request dot user. So we'll throw that in, and then the room, that's going to be the room here. And let's see, we have the body here. So the body is just going to be what we passed in the form here. So we'll just do request dot post dot get, and then we're passing in the body, and we're passing this body in from here. So whatever we named it here, that's how we're going to get that data. So once we get the data, we're just going to go ahead and do return redirect. So redirect, and we're going to send the user back to the room page. And at this point, we do have to pass in a dynamic value. So we need to pass in the primary key, and that's going to be the room.id. Now, the reason why I'm doing redirect, technically I could just not do this and it's still going to be on that page. The form will be there and the page will refresh. But the issue is now this is technically going to be a post request, and it's going to mess up some functionality here. So we actually want that page to fully reload, in a sense, clear what's going on, and make sure that we're back on that page with a get request. So we just want to process that. So let's go ahead and try this out. We're going to test this here. So we'll go into the messages, refresh it, and let's add a message. So we'll just say, what's up? We're going to join the conversation. If I hit enter, here we go. And I see Eric's message here that was posted 0 minutes ago. So there's a few things that I can do here. I want to add in delete functionality, and I also want to add in participants here. So let's see, how do I want to do this? So if I go in here, we see a list of participants right here. So I want to be able to add these. Now for this, we're going to have to add in some more functionality into our database here to actually do this. Now, we haven't talked about many-to-many relationships. I go over this inside of that course on Udemy, but many-to-many relationships are just another level of relationships in the database. And what this means is how a many-to-many or a many-to-one relationship works, where you have one parent and multiple children. A many-to-many relationship means that multiple objects can be connected to multiple other objects and vice versa. So in this case, think of it this way. We can have a room that's connected to a user, but a user doesn't have to be only in one room. They can go to many other rooms, and the rooms can also have many users. So it's like a interchangeable relationship, I guess. It goes in multiple directions. So I would highly recommend looking that up. I'm not going into how many-to-many relationships work. That's a lot of other explanation there. So let's go ahead and actually add in participants here like this. So the first thing I'm going to do before we add that relationship is I'm going to go into this page here, and I need to modify a few things. So the first thing is I want to change the layout here to actually add in some columns. So when I go to a room, let's learn JavaScript. Let's go ahead and actually clean this up a bit. So we'll go into room.html, and the first thing I want to do is create an entire container for the full room. So we're going to take this div. We need to wrap the entire room so we can actually create a grid. So we'll create the div here, and then we're going to scroll down to the closing end block, and we're going to create that there. So it's going to indent everything for me, and I'm going to give this a class of room-container. So we have the room container, and at this point we want to create two columns here. So I'm going to create the first column. This will be the wrapper around all the messages and the form. So I'm going to remove that div, bring that down here, and put that down here. So this div right here encapsulates all the content from the room name all the way down to this end if statement. Now, this column that we have for participants is going to be on the right side. So I need to go down here and create another div. And let's just go ahead and start writing this out. So we'll create an h3 tag, and we'll say participants Okay, so it's one of those words that I have to like sound out. So we'll create a line break and we're gonna have that right here. So if I refresh that, now we can see participants. So let's go ahead and create the actual layout here. So we'll create some style tags here. And again, our template will fix all of this later. So the theme that we're about to install, and we'll just do room-container. So let's go ahead and do display grid. So we're gonna make this a grid. Keep saying frid. So grid. And then we'll just do grid template columns, and we're gonna say 1 FR, and then actually we'll invert it. So we'll do 3 FR like the home page here, and we're gonna do 1 FR, so fraction. Okay, so if I refresh this, now we see participants, we see the room description, the conversation, and the message here. So in order to add the participants, we're going into models here, and I commented this out here. So we have our room participants. Now, in order to create a many-to-many field, all we need to do is models.many-to-many field like that, and that's what's going to create that model relationship. So give me 1 second here to prep. So all we need to do is go ahead and go to that room, and we need to specify the actual relationship that we're setting. So we're going to add in the user here. So we already have this imported. That's the relationship, and we have one small issue here because we already have a user model connected. We need to specify a related name. Now we can do this regardless, but in this case, because we have it, we need to specify it. And that just means that we can't reference a user because we already have a user up here. So in this case, the related name here is just going to be participants. Okay, so like that. I think, let me just copy and paste this there. So that's the related name. And then I also want to be able to submit a form without having to check something here. So we'll just do blank, and that's going to be true. So if I save this, I need to run a migration now. So I'm going to open up my terminal, and we're just going to do plus here. Let's go ahead and run these migrations. Make migrations. So we need to go through this process again. We're updating the database, manage.py. Migrate. Okay, so those migrations were just added. I'll close this one out right here, keep my server on, and let's check out the admin panel first. So if I go in here, let's just do admin, and I'm going to log in as a super user. So I was logged in as Eric. Eric can't be in the admin panel because he doesn't have super user status. So let's go ahead and go to our rooms. And if I go to Let's Learn JavaScript, we see our many-to-many fields here now. So I can actually add a few users. So what I can do is click on Dennis and then hit Control. So I have to hold it down. It says this in this note right here. And then I can go to Tim, and then I can save this. So let me just move my face out of the way. I'll just move myself up here somewhere. So we'll do that. And we're just going to do save. So if I go to, I want to learn HTML, or where was that? It was JavaScript. So now I see that relationship. So we have 2 participants inside of this room. So to get those participants, we can just go ahead and go into the view, and we're just going to bring the participants in. So we'll just go ahead and do participants like that. And to get those, we can just do room.participants. So earlier on, for a many-to-one relationship, we can do the _set method right here. For a many-to-many relationship, we can just do .all, and we can even filter these down if we want. So we got all the participants, then we're going to pass those into the context dictionary. So let me just bring my face down here so I'm familiar with where I'm at, and we're going to throw that into the context dictionary. So we'll throw that in, and we'll add in all the participants there. So that's going to indent that for me, and now we can actually access these inside of our room here. So let's see. We have all the participants. We're going to create this loop here. So we'll just do let's just say for user in participants. I don't want to keep writing that out. So for user in participants, and we're just going to lowercase that. And then let's just do an end for. Okay, and then we're going to create a div around these. Actually, we're not going to set a class name. Let's just go ahead and actually output the user's information. So at this point, we're just going to output a username because we don't have a full name here. So we'll just do a p tag here, and then we'll just do @ and then we'll add in the user.username. Okay, so let's check this out now. So later on, these profiles will be clickable. So if you want to join a room, check out someone's profile, if they're in it, you'll be able to just click on these. So now we can list these out. Now, what if Eric wants to join the conversation? So at this point, the user is not added in automatically. So let's log in as Eric. And let's go ahead and go back to Let's Learn JavaScript. So Eric commented on here, but he's not in the room here. So we need to add in this functionality. So in the view, we need to go ahead and actually process this. So once a participant is added in this request.post method, before we redirect this, we're going to do room.participants. And then we're going to do .add. And we actually have a method like remove. So we can actually do remove later if we want to remove a participant, and we'll deal with that later. So we have .add, and then we're just going to pass in the request.user. So request.user, and this user will be added to that many field. So a little bit of prep work there, but that's how we're able to add a user and then render the user information out, or the participants. So let's go ahead and add this. So this is going to be added when I submit that method here for a comment. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's just say, hey, again, let's say Eric's mad because no one's responding. He submits that message. The message is right there, and Eric is now a participant in that room. So we just added participants, and that looks good. Now, what I want to do here is also make sure that a user that's logged in can delete their own method or their own message. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll bring that in here, and we'll make sure that a user can delete their own message. We'll go in here, and let's go ahead and go into the messages. So we have the conversation, for message in room messages, and let's see. So we're going to create 2 links here, or we'll just create 1 link. Let's just say we're like Twitter. We don't want to give people editing functionality for whatever reason. It's pretty messed up that they do that, but I guess we're going to do it too. So let's just do delete. So for now, we want to do delete. I would recommend, as practice, go ahead and add in edit functionality too. So we're going to set the URL here. So URL, and that's going to be delete message. Okay, so we have a delete message link, and I'm not going to save this because this is going to throw in an error right now because I don't have this URL. So let's go ahead and go to our views, and let's first create that view. So at this point, what I'm going to do here is just copy this entire delete view for deleting the room. So we'll paste that in here, and we're going to change this to delete message. So we need to pass in the ID. We want to make sure the user is logged in before they can delete it. We're going to get a message instead of a room. Then we're going to check if the user is the message owner. So in the message, we have an owner, or user actually. So message has a user here. So inside of here, yeah, so we're going into that. So we have if the request is a request.user is not the message user, then we want to redirect them. Now, if they are, we want to process this. We're going to change this to delete, or message.delete. Okay, and then we're just returning back the delete template. Remember, that template is meant to be dynamic, so it can render out that value as obj. So we'll change this to message. We just updated everything from room to message. We had to update this value, and we just delete it. So we'll go back into the URLs now. We do need a URL path for this. Let's copy the delete URL here, and let's just go ahead and paste this. So delete room is going to be delete message, and then delete message. All right, so we have the URL, we have the view, and we can now set that link, and the link has to be to message.id. So let's save that. Let's check this out. I also don't want to list this link out at all times. So let's do this. Let's make sure that only the owner can see that delete message. So we'll just do, let's see, we'll back this up here, and we'll do if request.user is equal to message.user. Then we can just add in end if, and only the owner can see this question right here, or this option. So we'll do end if. All right, so we have that. If I refresh this, let's see, we have an error. request.user expected empty. Let's see. If request. If. Okay, so we forgot to add that. So if request.user is equal to that, let's go ahead and remove that, save that, and here we go. So only Eric can delete Eric's messages. I can't delete Tim's or Dennis's. So let's go ahead and say we want to delete that message. Where did that send me? Okay, so 1 second. All right, so we're going to delete message. We'll go to the URL. That's sending us to the delete message view. The delete message view is going to send us here. So we are logged in. It looks like it redirected us. So if the request.user, okay, let's try this one more time. So we'll go in here, and that should return back the delete HTML template. Okay, let's try this again. We'll click on delete. Why am I going back to here? So we see delete message for, oh, okay. So it was the right page. I just got mixed up by this navigation bar. So now we see, are you sure you want to delete hey again? So that's the message, and that was that object that we threw in there. So I can go back. That's going to take me back to the last page. I can go to delete, and I can confirm that, and that message was now deleted, and we can work on that URL routing a little bit later. So now we only see Eric, or now we see that Eric only has one message here. So we are officially done with the message functionality. So all we had was create and delete functionality. Now, what I want to do is create some kind of activity feed here. So you see how we have this activity feed inside of this template here. So if I go ahead, and for some reason I can't zoom out here. So we'll go down here, we'll go back to page 1. So on the home page, you can see that we have this activity feed here. So I want to be able to create this full feed. So let's go ahead and build this out here. So we'll go to the home page, and we're gonna have to change this entire layout. So we're gonna have the quick search, we're gonna have all the rooms, and then we're gonna have the activity feed. So we'll change up this layout. So let's go into home.html and we'll build this out. So we'll go into home.html, and what I'm going to do here is create another column, and we'll just do one FR. So that means the two side columns will be one fraction, or will take up one fraction, while the middle one will take up the most, making that the widest one, and they'll just auto adjust. Now I do need a column here in order for this to work. So we have our home container, we have our topics, so that's one column. Then we have our center column, and we need to create one more in order for those grid template columns to work. So we'll just go ahead and add in a div here, and we're going to do class. I guess we can just leave that like that. We don't need a class at this point, and we'll just do h3, and we'll do recent activity. So for this, I want to prompt users to actually engage in the website. If they come here, they don't see much activity, people are less likely to engage. But if they come in and they see an active feed here, they can actually see what's going on. Maybe at some point you want to build in like a social networking feature where you can follow people. You can modify this to only see what your friends are doing or people that you are following are commenting. So if a friend of yours comments on something, it might look interesting. So you click on it, you check it out, and it prompts you to engage. So that's what we're trying to do here. So in this case, we have recent activities. And because I created that third column and I updated the grid template column for that main container, let's check this out here. So now we have recent activity. So let's go ahead and see how we're going to do this. So let's see. In the view, I think I'm going to have to actually get some activity or some comments here. So we'll go down or go up to the home page. We have topics, and then we'll just do, let's see, how do I want to do this? We'll just do, how did I call this inside of the room? I was going to say message conversations, but let's see. That was in the room messages. So let's just take this right here. So we'll just call it room messages. So that's going to be our activity. Maybe we can change that name later. We just can't use messages or it's going to mess up the flash messages that we have. So we'll go in here and we'll just do room_messages. So in this case, I'm just going to get all of them. So I'll do message.objects.all, and this is where you can change it to where only where you can only see maybe people you follow if you happen to build that in. So you'll be able to modify that right here. So we're going to have our room messages. We're getting all of those. Then we're going to go ahead and create our context dictionary. So let me just fix some indentation here. and we'll just throw that in here and pass in the room messages. Okay, so we can see those. We queried all of those. So we'll go into the home page and let's output all of those. So that's at the bottom of the page here. We'll create the HR tag and we'll just do for, let's see, for message. I think I can just do message like that because it's a variable inside of the loop. For message in room underscore messages. And let's go ahead and output that. I think I actually did that in the room, so it should be fine. So end for. Okay, so we're going to create the div. So we're going to wrap every single message here. At some point, we are going to want to have styling here. And what do we want to do here? So in this design, we want to output eventually the user profile. But for now, let's output the name, when it was posted, who they reply to, and then the message here. So let's see. So we'll go ahead and create a small tag here. And we'll just say @ and then the username. So we'll do message.user. And then we want to say the time it was posted. So we'll just do message.created. Let me just move this up. So message.created. And then we'll just do time since. So we're going to use that filter. And let's take a look at this. So now we should see each message be output. So here we go. We see Dennis, Tim, Eric. So these are all the messages that we have in this entire website. So if Dennis goes to 100 days of code, we'll just say, what's this? Ask a question, go back here, and now we can see Dennis just message right here. So, or actually I'm Eric right now. So we see that it's ordered by the oldest to the newest. So what I'm going to do here is actually change up this filter really quick, or the ordering. So I can actually add in ordering to the entire class instead of having to do order by. So I'm going to remove that. And I always want to make sure that we get the most recent messages. So we're just going to copy this right here from the room model. And I'm going to paste this in right here. And we're just going to order it the same way. So that should fix that. There we go. So the newest message is right there. And now we just want replied to and then the name. So we'll go here in home and let's just do another small tag. So we'll do small and we'll just do replied to. So we want to show the quote, or not the quote, but the room that they're currently talking to. Later on, maybe you can add a user and we'll do replied to and then message.room. So it's going to output the room, and let's just indent this a little bit. So we'll do style and then here, let's see, is it indented here? Actually, we'll leave it like that, so we won't add in any styling. So we'll remove that, reply to, and then we also want to output the actual text here. So we'll just do message.body. So in this case, let's do this. I want to only output the string representation, so I can just add in message without the actual full message. So I only want to output the first 50 characters, so I can actually leave that, and that's going to output this value right here. So it's going to trim it down, so if somebody writes a long message, I don't want to have to see everything and then clutter up that sidebar. So here we go. We see Eric replied to 100 days of code, and it shows what he replied, and then we see Eric replied to Let's Learn JavaScript, and we can see sort of like an activity feed and a sidebar. So let's go ahead and let's see, what do I want to do here? I think I want to add in some delete functionality. So users should be able to delete their own messages from the activity feed also. So let's go ahead and add that in right here. So technically we can just go to the room and we'll just take this right here. And we already have all this built in. So we're going to the room, we're checking if the user is the current owner of that message, and we'll go back to the activity feed. And let's just put this at the bottom of the message. And let's just create a line break so we can see the difference here. So try this. There we go. So Eric can only delete his messages here. So if we can go here, delete it, confirm it, we're back on the home page, and there we go. So that functionality was mostly built in. At this point, I guess what we can do is we have the topics and we have the activities inside of the home page. I want to make them their own component here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's build those in. So right now, I want to be able to actually reuse this activity feed and these topics. And by the way, I can filter these down here. So if I want, what I could do is actually modify these components to filter down by a specific topic. So give me 1 second to prep this. So let's go ahead and change up the messages here. So what I could do is actually go into the view here, and let's see. I actually want to show you this because this is actually pretty cool here. So I can actually use the QLOOKUP method, and I can actually grab this right here and do messages.filter, and then I can throw in Q, and let's just throw in the topic name. So let's see, the message model has a room. So we can do room underscore name. And if that is equal to, or room underscore name is underscore I contains, like that. And we can throw in Q here. So we can actually filter that down by the room name. So let's try this. So let's say that the user is on this page and they want to see all the JavaScript rooms here. So if I click on this, now I should be able to only see all the activity for the JavaScript page. So let's go to web development. Let's create a message here. So we'll just say, hey, right there. And then if I go back to here, if I go to web development, I should only see messages related to that. So let's see, room underscore topic underscore name, or double underscore. So that should run that filter. So here we go. Now we only see the activity to this topic. If I go to JavaScript, now I see all the conversations related to JavaScript. If I go to all, now I see all the conversations. Okay, so I wanted to throw that in, and let's make some reusable components now. So in this case, we'll create a new file, and we'll just say activity underscore component .html. Okay, so activity component. And what we're going to do here is make sure that we can use this same activity feed right here inside of our profile page later on. So when we go to a user's profile, we want to be able to see all the activity for that specific user. So let's say I go to Eric's account. I want to be able to see all of Eric's activity. And what I would have to do here is actually rewrite all this code right here inside of Eric's account. So I don't want to do that. I can actually just make this into its own component. So we're also going to do this for the feed and the topics here. So let's take all this right here. So everything inside of this div, we'll copy all of this, remove it, leave these two right here, and then go into the activity component. So we have the activity component, and then we can go into our home page, and let's just include that. So at this point, if I save this and refresh it, all the activity is gone. So I can just simply include it now. So I can go ahead and do include. So we'll do include here, and we'll just do activity and then underscore component .html. Okay, so we have our activity component. If I refresh that, oh, okay, so we need to go into base. So this is inside of the base app, so we need to specify the path, and that's how it should work. So now we see recent activity. So I'm gonna do the same for all the rooms here. So let's see, inside of the home page, we have our activity. If I go to a room, if I actually go to a user's profile, I want to be able to render out the same component. So notice that in the user's profile, we still have the same activity component. So in this case, I want to make this its own component too. So let's do that. We're just gonna break things down into little compartments. So we'll just do topics underscore component .html. We'll break that down, and let's see, we can go into home.html, go into topics. So we have our home container, topics. We'll take everything inside of this div, copy it and remove it, go into topics, and then we can bring this in right here. So we're just gonna use include. And we need to go into base / topic underscore component .html. All right, so now if I refresh this, we'll still see our topic, base topic component. Did I name that wrong? So let's see, we have topics component. So let's just do topics. We'll save that, give that a test, and now we see our topic. So I'm doing this for a reason. So I know it seems a little bit repetitive, but one, it's showing you how this works, and two is it's going to save us from a lot of extra work here in a second here. So we're going to go into the feed now, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to do new file, feed underscore component .html. Okay, so now we have a feed component. So we're going into home again, and we're going to do the same thing here. So we see this div right here that takes in the entire room. At this point, I don't want to take everything because I want to be able to save this only for the home page. So we're going to take the actual items in that feed. So in this case, let's go ahead and go down here. So we're going to leave the room count and this link, and we're just going to take this div right here. So that everything that's going to give us this for statement right here, this for loop. So we'll copy that. We'll bring that into the feed component, save it, and let's see. So back in home. And by the way, so we do have, actually, let me just finish this up and I'll explain what's going on here. So we'll just do include, and we can do base feed underscore component .html. So let's save it really quick. And the reason why we have access to all these items because is because we're passing this data into the context dictionary. Now this component is available inside of that template. So once the template actually sees it, it doesn't notice that they're different components. So that's why we have access to rooms inside of the room component, the topics, and the activities. So they're brought into this page here, and that information is basically being passed down into them, and that's how we have access to them. So as long as they're used in the same page, if we just decided to drag this into another page without passing in that information, well, it wouldn't work that way. So that's how we have access to the components, topics, and the actual feed. Okay, so now that that's done, we want to create a user profile, and pretty soon we're going to move on to static files and that template. So let's go ahead and create an actual profile for a user. So we'll just do profile.html, and we're going to extend the main template. So we're going to do extends here, and this is going to be main.html. Then we can do block content, and we can do end block here. So close that off. End block content. Okay, so we have our home template, and at this point, let's just output the user's name. We'll just do an h1 tag, and we'll just do user.username. So before we style it, we'll just make sure that we know what user's account we're visiting. So we just have a simple template for a user profile. So let's go into our views now, and inside of our views, we want to create a profile here. So let's just add that above our create room view and underneath our room. So create a new one here. So we'll do, or create a new view. So we'll do user profile, pass in request, return render, pass in request, base, and then we do profile. Profile.html will pass in the context dictionary, throw that in right here. Okay, so there we go. So we have the context dictionary. Now we need a URL. Let's just take, let's see, I'll put this underneath room. So we'll create a new path here. Make sure you add in the trailing comma. And this is going to go to profile, and then we're getting the actual user's ID. So in this case, we're going into str here, and we're going to pass in the primary key. Close that off. Views dot user profile name, and that's going to be user dash profile. Okay, so we have a URL now, and we need to update this in several different areas here. So in the home page, actually, I guess now it's not in the home page, it's now inside of the feed component. So we'll go into feed, and we're going to output the host here. So for this host, inside of that @ symbol, let's just actually change this to a link. So we'll just wrap that, and we'll say href, and we're going to point to the URL. So we're going to do URL, and then we're going into user dash profile, and we're passing in the user ID. So we can go into room.host.id. Okay, so that is inside of the feed component, and we want to render the user's name. So this username, if I refresh it, now we should be linked up. If I go to Tim, let's see, user profile got an unexpected argument PK. So let's go back to the view. We didn't complete this. We want to pass in PK, and we want to get the user. So we'll just do user is equal to user.objects.get, and then we'll specify the ID, which is the primary key, and we can throw this information out. So let's see, in the profile, we're passing that in as the user value, and we have that here. Let's try to refresh that. Okay, so there we go. So now we see Tim. If we go back to the home page, if I go to Dennis, I see Dennis's profile, and we have the profile set up. So this is where things get a little bit faster here. So all we need to do for the profile, we're just going to have 3 different columns here. So we're going to have our topics, we're going to have our feed, eventually the user's information and profile picture, and the activity. So let's see. So for the user, let's go ahead and get all this user's rooms here. So we'll just do rooms. That's going to be equal to user.room_set.all. Remember, we can get all the children of a specific object by doing the model name and then _set and then whatever we want there. So in this case, we're getting all of them. So we'll throw that in here. Remember that because we access rooms this way inside of the feed component, or not the feed component for room in rooms, we need to access it this way. So now we're going to pass in these rooms into that feed component once it's used. So we have that. Let's go to the user profile and let's see. I want to create some kind of container here. So we'll do /div, and we want to just throw in the 3 columns here. So we're going to create 3 different columns, and I'm just going to copy and paste this. So we'll do 1 and then 2. So this will be our activity, our feed, and then, or the topics, feed, and activity. So let's go ahead and include that now. So now that we have the rooms, we'll just do include base /feed component.html. So if I save this, now we don't have to rewrite that in, and if we make edits, they're just going to be updated right away. So if I go to Dennis, here is all of Dennis's rooms right here. So let's fix the layout here. So we'll just do class profile container, and I'm going to create some styling here now. So we'll just do a style tag, close this out, and we can do profile container. What happened here? So style, and okay, so there we go. So we're going to display this as a grid. So grid, and then we're going to do grid template columns, and we're going to do 1 FR, 3 FR, and then 1 FR. So in this case, I'm going to change that to 2. So let's check this out now. So actually, I want to leave that as 3. I want it to look the same as the current homepage right now. So if I go ahead and refresh this, I'm on the profile page now. So we see the name and we see the center column right here for the activity. And you notice that if I go here, we only see my post here. So if I go to logo, here we see all of them. If I go to Tim, I see that Tim only has 1 room here. So we'll go to Dennis right now, and let's output the actual activity here for me. So let's see. In this case, we're going to do messages here. So let's see. How do I want to do this? In the home page, I just did room messages. So this is all of my activity. And inside of the profile, I'll just do room messages. So all the messages that I've added in any room, and we'll just do user.message_set.all. That'll render those out. And at this point, let's also get the topics. So we'll just do topics, and that's going to be equal to topic.objects.all. So we need that because we need to access all of these inside of that component. And let's see. So we can go to profile, and let's just copy this right here. This will be the topic component. Then we can bring this in right here, and this is going to be activity. Okay, so now if I refresh this, topics, okay, so that's supposed to be topics. All right, so there we go. We see all the topics. For some reason, they are not being rendered out. I think I forgot to pass those into the context dictionary. Yeah, so I need to grab these and I need to bring those in here. So we'll throw those in right here, topics, and then topics. Okay, so I save that. Let's check that out. And here we go. So if I filter these, this is going to take me back to the home page. Recent activity, did I not comment on anything? Let's see. So room messages is user.message_set.all. That needs to be messages with an S right there. And that should do it. Okay, so now I see all of my activity, or all of Dennis's activity. If I go to, or Eric's actually, then if I go to, or no, I'm logged in as Eric, but I see Dennis's activity. If I go to someone else's, let's go to Eric. Let's see, let's check out Tim here. He's only got one message in there. And then if I go to Eric, somewhere here, let's see. Oh, Eric never posted a room. Okay, so let's try this. In order to go to Eric's room, let's move my face down here. Let's also update the links inside of the activity. So the cool thing is I can just update it in the activity feed and I don't have to update it everywhere. So I can just go to the activity component and I'm just going to wrap this right here. So I see the user. We're going to wrap this inside of a link. So we'll do an A tag here and we're going to take this closing tag and we're going to put that just after the username. So we'll just do href and that's going to point to that specific user. So I hope you're starting to see how things are becoming more dynamic by creating this or making this reusable here. So we'll just do user-profile and then the user ID, which is message.user.id. Okay, so now if I go here, refresh it, I can go to Eric's account too. Now I see all of Eric's activity. Eric has 2 comments here, and that's how we can actually link this up to the actual profiles. So in this next section, what I want to do is work on static file configuration. So static files are basically any CSS files, any images or JavaScript files, and in definition, they're static. So Django has its own way of configuring this. So right now we've been writing our CSS inside of our templates and we don't want to do this. So what we're going to do here is we're going to eventually move all the CSS outside of our templates and we're going to create our own style sheet. So in Django, we first need to create our static files. We need to let it know where to find these, and then we can actually render these out dynamically in a template. So there's different types of static files. We can configure images, we can configure CSS and JavaScript files, and they all have their own way of actually doing things. So let's go ahead and create a new folder inside of the root directory. So static files will start off this way. We'll just create a folder called static. And in this folder, we're going to create another folder for all of our CSS files. So we'll just do styles. And in styles, I want to create a main.css file. So in static, I also want to eventually create a folder to store all of my images. So we're just going to do images here. And there we have our styles. So we have a static folder. These are our static files. Now to actually let these be used inside of our templates, let me close out all these links because I have a bunch of them open. Let's close everything out and let's go into the settings.py file. And we need to let Django know about these static files now. So it has no idea that this static folder even exists here. So what we're going to do is create a variable called static underscore files underscore, or static files, and then underscore dirs. So static files directories. And we can actually host static files in multiple areas, just like we did with our templates directory. So up here where we pointed to base dir and templates, well, we can do the same thing for our static files, and we can just say base directory, and then we'll point to static. So this is going to let Django know we have static files inside of this folder here. So that's officially connected. Now, in order to actually use these static files, let's go ahead and actually add in some CSS here. So we'll specify a body tag, and we'll just say background color, and let's just set this to this aquamarine color here. So to make this work, what we're going to do is we're simply going to bring this into, let's see, we're going to bring this into main.html here. So inside of our templates, we'll put this into main.html. And this is why it's good to have this template, because I'm going to apply this style to this template and it's going to apply it to all the children templates that we have. So all the pages. So in here, what I'm going to have to do is just do load static here. So that's one thing that we have to do, is we have to let this template know that we can actually use the static tag. So once I load that in, I'm just going to change this right here to double quotes, and we're just going to add in 2% or 2 curly braces, the percent symbols, and we're going to write static. So what this is going to do is static is going to tell it to go ahead and find this static folder. Now we need to specify a path for this CSS style sheet. So we have a link here, and now in single quotes, because these two are double quotes, we're just going to go into the styles folder. So we'll do styles/main.css. So if I save that, that should now apply that static file. So you might have to do Control-Shift-R, and now on every single page, we have this background right here for all of our pages, because that's inside of here. Now, we can also do images here. So if we wanted to add in an image, we would just add in, let's see. So I'll actually try this right now. So let's go into our project here. I'm going to go into my desktop and we'll just find a picture here. So we're going to copy one of these pictures from these diagrams, and I'll just take models here. So take models. I'm going to copy that. You can just grab any image that you have and place this into your project file. So go into static, go into images, and paste that in there. So once we have that, in order to use the image inside of your template here, let's go ahead and bring this into our main.html file. So we're just going to do image, close that off here. And then for the source, we're just going to do the curly braces. We'll go to static, and I want to know if you can guess this. What do we do next? Well, we go into the images folder. So we're going into static and then images, and we're going into models dot, and let's see, whatever I call that, whatever picture you're using. So models.jpg. So now that image can be used. So if I save that, there we go. And now this picture is inside of my website. So I don't actually want to have that there. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. But that's how we can add in CSS, JavaScript, and images. Now there are differences for user uploaded images, which we'll get into. Like when a user uploads their profile picture, we do have to configure things in a different way. For that, we're going to use something called static_root, and we'll get into that later. So I'll just comment that out here. So we're going to comment that out, and we also have to configure some URLs for that, and also static files in production are going to be handled a little bit differently than they are in development. Okay, so before we jump into the next section where we'll be installing our theme, I want to fix up a few things with the website that I noticed. So the first thing is inside of main.html, I accidentally added this extra li tag here in the flash messages section. So if you added that, just go ahead and get rid of that and make sure you have an opening and closing li tag. So a small mistake. If you made it, go ahead and fix it. If not, just ignore this right here and let's move on here. So in this next part, I want to fix the create room form here. So at this point, when we go to create a new room, we have this option to select a host here. Now that was good when I was just showing basic CRUD operations, but at this point, we don't want to be able to select a host. We want this host to automatically be added based on whoever's logged in. So if I'm logged in as Dennis at this point, I want this to be automatically added and this field shouldn't be visible. So the first thing I'm going to do here, oh, and I also don't want the participants to be visible here either. So we'll get rid of both of these. So what I can do here is go to my base app here. So we'll go into forms.py, and typically we could just render out every single field item that we want by specifying all. And we can also add in a list where we select the exact fields that we want to render. I'm just going to go ahead and use the exclude method here. So that's also an option. And this is going to be a list here, so I can get rid of the host here. And then I'll go to models here. So we'll see. I also want to exclude participants. So we'll go ahead and add that, and we'll exclude these two fields. So if I save this, so if I refresh it, now we don't see host and now we don't see participants. So these should be automatically updated. So the next thing is I also want to make sure that the backend knows how to process this. So in the view now, we're going to have to update a few things here. So we'll go into views, and we're going to need to go to the create room view. So in here, we have a standard form on the post method. We get that data and we save it. And now we're not submitting a host. So what I'm gonna do here is go ahead and get the room value. So we'll set the room to whatever is saved on the form. And for this, we need to set commit to false. That's gonna give us an instance of this room. So we've already done this. And well, we did it in another view here. So now what I can do is just go ahead and do room.host, and we're gonna set that to request.user. So you can only create a room if you're logged in. We already added that functionality. So now we know that a host will be added based on whoever's logged in, and we'll just do room.save. So we just added in one more step here where we set the host, and that's it. So now if I save this, let's go ahead and try to add a new room. So I'll refresh it. We'll select a topic. And by the way, with the topic, I'll also add in functionality where you can add a topic if one doesn't already exist. So if you want to select a new topic, let's say one is something like study for backend developers, you'll have the option to select and search or just generate your own topic. But we'll add that once we install the theme. So we'll select this and we'll just do study with me and triple exclamation point so we can see that. And if I submit that, here we go. We should see that right here, and we see the host as Dennis. So I'm logged in, all that's working, and now we can move on to installing the theme. So our website looks pretty ugly at this point, especially with this blue color. And I want to talk about how theme installation works. So typically you would work with some kind of designer. If you're working at a company, you would work with some kind of design team, and they would give you a theme. You would have the designers and front-end developers generate all this awesome content for you, and you would write the back-end logic and just learn how to install a theme as opposed to writing that all up on your own. Or maybe you are a sole developer. You might not always want to build out all your own code in the front end. Maybe you just want to focus on one part. This is where buying a theme or getting a free theme online might work better for you. So I want to show you how this installation process works. Instead of hand coding all this up, this is an important thing to know how to do. So we're just going to go ahead and install that. Now, how this will work is we have a standard theme with some HTML, some CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript. We're not going to worry about the CSS and JavaScript part. That's already added into the theme, and that's just going to add functionality where we need it. So we don't need to worry about that. So we're going to need to grab these HTML files, and we're going to have to replace a lot of the content that you see. So every single page here, we're basically going to get those pre-built templates. We're going to add them into our code, and then we're going to have to do things the Django way. So for example, the theme with the CSS files and the JavaScript files, these are all set with file paths that are already connected to that specific theme. So we're going to have to add our static files the Django way, or we're going to have to replace all of our images and any other filler content with our Django tags and loops and if and else statements. So we're basically going to have to add the templates and then modify the data that's inside of them. So we'll just go ahead and get right to it. So to get this theme, go ahead and go to the GitHub repo, and this is going to be in the source code, and this is going to be in the theme folder. So if I click on this, we're going to see all these templates that are already built out for us. We see all the assets, so logos, icons, anything that we're going to use, that's already in here. So we're just going to start installing this stuff. So I already have this on my desktop. So to get this, just go ahead and go here, download this entire repo, extract the theme section, and you can start working with that. So I already have that in my desktop right here. So that's the theme folder, and I have my project files right here. So if I open up the theme folder, once you have this installed, go ahead and just open up one of the files here. So this is index.html. So this is all static data right here. This is just rendered out in HTML code, and this is what we're going to install and then modify here. So let's go ahead and start by adding in the home page here. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and open up both files here. So this is going to be the theme on the left. So on the left side, that's my theme, and on the right side, this will be my project files. So we're going to open up study bud right here, and this is going to be on the right. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and replace the home page with the theme template here. So let's go ahead and go into base. We'll go into templates, base, and let's take index.html. So in the theme, index.html is going to represent the home page here. So we'll rename it in a second. So I'm just going to copy this, or you could just drag it in here and bring that in here. Now my current home page, this is going to be set to _old. So I'm just going to change the name, and I'm also going to change index right here to home.html. So we want to show the theme files. So we'll do home.html, and that view on the home page knows to render this out. So let's go ahead and see what we have here. So if I go in here, if I refresh this, home.html does not exist. Let's see why this is happening. That shouldn't be the case. So we'll see. We have a view here, we have home, and we have our templates and home. Okay, so I added in .html there twice by accident. Okay, so now it should exist. So if I refresh this, this is that theme here. So if I open up the theme on its own, we see all the styling. So why is this styling not being output here? So for this, we need to go ahead and add in our theme's CSS files. So we're not even gonna bother with what's in here. We're just gonna bring that in and let the styling apply. So let's go back into our main project folder and let's go to the static folder. We'll go into styles here, and we're just gonna take style.css, and we're gonna bring that in. And at this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of, actually I'll leave main.css in there for now. So we dragged in the main.css file. Now to add in the styling, all I need to do is go ahead and go into home.html, and you see how the styling is pointed like this with a file path? Well, that's because it works in the theme that way. They're in the same file. So what I need to do here is simply add in static here. So we're gonna load static. So we need to load in this tag, and we're just gonna change how this file path points to that CSS file. So we're gonna add in static, add in a single quote around this, and we're just gonna go ahead and add in the % symbols. So now if I save this, the CSS file should be applied here. Actually, I need to go into styles and then style.css. So if I go into static, we can see the file path right here. So again, I'm not worried about the details of that CSS file. That should be applied to the theme. So if I refresh that, you might have to do a Control-Shift-R. Now we see all this styling being applied here. So this isn't exactly how we want things. I just wanted to show you how to connect that CSS file. So what we need to do is we need to connect this main template to our main.css file. So we're going to take all of these contents. We're just going to do Control-A, select everything from home.html with the theme styles and that new static file. And we're just going to go into main.html here. So what I'm going to do is paste this above. So we're going to move all the original contents down. And again, there's different ways on how you can go about this, but for now, because I already have content, I'm just going to slowly move out content and replace it. So everything from home.html is now going to be pasted inside of main.html. So I'll just comment out that JavaScript file, and now we have all this content inside of main.html. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and minimize this header section, and I'm going to take everything inside of main here. So we're going to highlight everything in this opening and closing main tag. So this is the content for the actual home page. So I'm just going to minimize it and I'm going to remove it. So we'll go ahead and take all of this and get rid of that. Now I'm just going to go ahead and take this nav bar, and we're going to bring this into this theme here. So underneath the header here. So we'll bring that in like that, and we'll take this opening and closing block tag. We'll bring this, let's see, inside of the themes body tag here. So I think we're actually supposed to have a body tag here. So I was supposed to leave that. Let's check this out here. No, I already have that body tag. So that's already there. So body starts and closes right here. Okay, so we have the block tags, and we're just going to add in this message right here, or the flash messages. So we're just going to bring this in right above or underneath our nav bar and above our block tags here. And let's go ahead and now get rid of all the original content. So we have this section here where we load in that style sheet. There wasn't too much to it. So let's get rid of all that. And there we go. So I'm scrolling a little bit here, but I hope you see what I'm doing. I'm taking all the content from the theme, pasting it in, and adding in the Django stuff. So now if I save this, let's go ahead and also go into home now. So we'll go into home, and because we have this main theme wrapping our home page, we now no longer need the head tag, and we no longer need the header here. So let's go ahead and get rid of the header. So I minimize that. This is in the home.html page. So we're going to get rid of that. Let's take everything from the opening body tag. We'll also remove that. So delete that. And then at the bottom, let's remove HTML all the way to the script tag. So we have our theme styled inside of main.html here. We have these two block tags, so block content and end block, and remember we're extending the main template. So now in home.html, we're just going to go ahead and extend the main template. Remember, we still have the original home.html that we can refer to, so it's home_old. So we'll just go ahead and do extends, and this is going to be main.html. Now all we need to do is wrap this main tag inside of our block tags. So we'll go ahead and just do block content, and then at the bottom we just want to wrap all of this here. So this is going to be more tedious. Once you see it applied, you should be able to understand how to finish up the rest here. This entire section is going to be a little bit longer just because we're going to be going line by line and changing up all the contents here. So now we extend the main theme. So let's save main.html and home.html. So we're going to save that. Let's refresh it. And here we go. So we see our original nav bar here. So we're going to fix all this up here. And the home page right now, even though it's in our Django project, is still all static. So we're going to start replacing this section here. So the next thing I want to do before we go to the home page is I want to set this navigation bar. So the reason why we see this is because we're including our nav bar inside of main.html. So we include the nav bar. Now we have a new navigation bar from the theme. It's in this header tag. So we're going to take the bottom header tag all the way to the top here. We're going to copy that and then just delete it. So we have it saved right now. And we're going to go into navbar.html. So again, let's paste this all above the original content and then we'll slowly replace it. So let's go ahead and see what we need to do here. So in this original section, we had a logo that goes to the home page. I can get rid of that. We had this form that sends us to the home page as a get method, and it passes in the queue method. So let's go ahead and update the form inside of the theme. So let's see, we have the link here. Let's Django-fy this, I guess, if that's the right term. And we'll just make this a Django link. So we'll just do URL. That's for the logo that we're about to update. And we're just going to do home. So we update the home link. Then we have our form. So for the form, the method is going to be a get method, and we're going to send this to the home page. So we'll just do action, and that's going to send the user to home. Okay, so for the actual search field, so we have an SVG file. I'm going to minimize that just to clean that up. For the search field, we just have to specify the name, and that's going to be Q, and it says search post in here. So let's see. So we set the method, we set the action, and we set the name. So I can now get rid of the original search form. So if I save this, everything should still be good. So if I hit enter, we're still seeing that be added right there, and this navigation bar is slowly getting removed. Now, the next thing is I want to update this section right here. So I need to add in some JavaScript. So you see how as I click on this section should open up. It should be like a little drop-down menu item. So that's not working because our theme also requires a JavaScript file. So we'll open up these two files here. On the left, we have our theme. On the right, we have our Django project. So we'll go back into the static folder. So we're going back into static, and let's create a new folder for JavaScript. So we'll just call that JS. And then in our theme here, let's see, we should have a script file. So that's our JavaScript file. Let's just drag that into JS here. So now we have that JavaScript file. Now, in order for that to work, let's go ahead and go back into our main.html, and let's bring that in here. So I commented that out, and originally I was just pointing to script.js, but now because this is in our static files, this isn't going to work here. So we need to wrap this inside of a static tag. So we'll do static, single quote, and then a single quote, and %, and curly brace. Okay, so now that I added that static tag, I should be able to do a Control-Shift-R, just do a refresh, and if I click on this, this should work. Okay, so I actually didn't do that right. This is supposed to point to js/script.js. So that was the file path based on this structure right here. Okay, so if I refresh that, now if I click on it, here we go. We see this drop-down menu with two links. So I want to update the user. So I want to show the currently logged in user, and I also want to implement this condition right here. So in the nav bar, we have if the user is authenticated, show the username. If not, then we want to show the login button. So let's go ahead and take request.user and let's go to this section. So let's see, this is going to be just underneath the form. We're going to bring this into the header user section, and we're going to worry about the user images later. We haven't done that yet, and I left that for the last section for a specific reason, and I'll explain why later, but we will actually have user images. So for now, let's go ahead and just output the username. And then for the actual name here, let's just output the username again. So we'll just do user.username. Okay, so that's the first part here. So let's see, how do I want to update this? So this is the not logged in section. So let's take this little section right here and let's bring this down under the user here. So we'll save that and let's take this condition. So if the user is authenticated, we'll scroll up here. So if the user is authenticated, let's put that above our header user section. And let's add an end if underneath this comment here. So we'll just do end if. So this is all this process is just simply changing out this information. So I'm going to remove this HR tag. We're going to comment all this out. And let's go back to this condition. So we have if the user is authenticated, show the user section, and then we'll just do else. And let's comment or remove the comments here. So now we have this link right here that takes the user to the login page, which we need to update. So we'll go into URL login. So if the user is not logged in, that's the else statement. Take them there and say login. So let's try this. So we're still going to have to update some images here. So if I refresh that, if I open this up and click log out, let's see, in log out, I actually want to send the user there. So let's see if the user is logged in, we send them to the profile page, or we have a log out button here. So let's see, where is that log out button? Does it say log out in the template? It does. I just can't find that text here. So the username. Okay, so down here, so underneath that condition. So this is hidden if the user doesn't click on that. So we have this log out link right here. So it opens and closes right here. So let's change this to log out. So URL log out. And then that's going to be in single quotes. Okay, so now if I click on this, I log out. So now it says log in. So the user is logged out and the user can log in now. So if I click log in, it's going to take me to this form and this is all going to be clean in a second. And now I'm logged in and that username will be uploaded or updated. So there is an icon here that we want to add, and we also want to add in a logo right there. So let's open up the theme files on the left and open up our project files on the right. Let's open up the static folder and let's just get rid of this models file. We don't need that. And let's go into assets and let's just take all of this and drag this in right here. So now we see an avatar and we see a logo and a favicon. So we'll go back to the theme here. Let's go back into our static files and let's update that. So for the logo, this needs to point to the static folder. So we're just going to add in that. The curly braces and percent symbol will go into static. And then we're not going into assets now. We're going into images. So we'll change this to images. And that's going to be logo.svg. We'll wrap that in a single quote, percent symbol, and curly brace. So that should add the logo. So it looks like I used the static tag and I have not imported that into my navigation bar. So just above header, let's just import the static tag so we can use it. We'll just do load static, save that, and let's give this a test. Okay, so now we see our logo. So the logo's done and there needs to be an avatar right here. So I'm just gonna copy this section all the way up to this / and let's find that avatar. So the avatar is gonna be right here somewhere. So in the login section, we'll just remove assets, paste that section in, and then wrap this in a single quote, and then a percent symbol and the curly brace. And that should complete it for our header section for now. Okay, so there we go. We haven't added an account section yet. So if I click on this, we can log out, and we still need to work on the settings section, and that's where a user can update their information. Now let's go ahead and move on to this section. So this is all static information. This is all hard coded in from the theme, and we need to update this because we don't have 553 topics and all these topics for Python. This is not in our system yet. So we need to change all this. So we're going to go back into home.html. So let's close our nav bar and let's close main.html. If I miss anything, there's a good chance that I will because there's a lot of code to update. I'm just going to go ahead and finish out the video, and I'll add in like a final section in this video where we clean up anything that I missed. So let's go ahead and go into main or home.html, and let's clean this up here. So in home, the first thing I want to do is I want to get the topics here. So here we have a topics section. We see this comment right here. This was all done by my designer, Sharir Shuvo. So he put in good comments here, so I can find where topics start and end right here. So I can minimize this section and I can see where everything is. So what I'm going to do here is I need to include the topics component. So remember in our original template, in the old template, which I named home_old, we're going to take this topics component right here. So let's take this, let's copy that, and let's bring that into home.html. So let's go ahead and just paste this in right here. And now what I want to do is do exactly what we did with the navigation bar. So I'm going to take all these topics. So it's minimized. That's going to copy all of them. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to remove it. And then we're going to go into topics here. So depending on how you have your website, it's going to change how you install a theme here. So at this point, you should already start seeing what's going on and start understanding it. So let's go into the topics component and let's do this again. So let's get rid of browse topics. Let's go ahead and just get rid of this URL here and let's keep this loop. So I'm going to paste in the templates topic section inside of my topics component. Then what I want to do is get rid of all of these topics except for one. So we'll just keep Python here. So now we have Python. For all, we're just going to set that URL to the home URL. So we're just going to do URL, and that's going to be home. And let's take this loop right here. So let's copy this loop. Let's put that above our Python li tag, and let's close this off here. So we'll just do end for, and we can just go ahead and take this link right here. Let's copy that. Paste this in as this link right here, and now I can just get rid of this. Okay, so now I just need to update this a little bit. So we have the topic section included, and in this section, we want to render out all the actual counts here, so the correct numbers. So for this section, we want to output the actual topic name. So this is nothing new. We'll just do topic.name, and now it's going to be in a styled format. So for the count, we haven't done this, but what I can do here is just do topic. So I can actually do this in the template. So I can do topic dot, let's see, we're going to do, what's the child object? So that's the room underscore set dot all, and I don't need to add in curly braces here. And then I can just do dot count. So in the template, I'm not actually going to add in, not the curly braces, but the percent symbols. So I'm just getting all the topics, all the child objects, getting the entire query set, and I'm just going to do dot count. And then I forgot to add in the curly brace. So that will give me the current number. So for all, I also want to get this too. So that's going to be topics. Actually, what I could do is just go to this topics query set. So we'll just do topics.count. And that's going to give me all the topics. So I updated the count on each topic and the full number. And I also updated all the actual links here. So at this point, let's go ahead and save that. And if I refresh it, there we go. Now the topics component is updated. So if I click on Python, we can see the search bar, JavaScript, web development, and we'll get to the more section later. So that's something I want to do towards the end. I don't want to spend time on that. So for the study room, let's go ahead and actually build in the feed and update this value. So for the study room, we'll go back to home.html and let's see. Let's go into this section right here. So we're going to go ahead and update this. So we'll just do rooms.count. I think that's how I had it. So let's open up the original homepage. So old homepage, and that was just room count. So we actually had a full variable with that value. So we'll just change that. That should update the number. 4 rooms available, that's more like it. And now we want to update the feed here. So for the feed, we don't want to update this entire section. So we have this room list section. So it starts and closes way down there. So we have the mobile version of this, so we're not going to worry about that. There's a search form in here. Don't worry about this form. Let's minimize the mobile version. Then we have our room list header. So that's where we have the count. We're not going to worry about that. So let's minimize it. And then we have our room list item. So room list, okay, so these are the individual items. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and keep the original room list item. So it starts right here and it closes on line 80 at this point. And then let's take the second one, minimize it and remove it. So we only need one because we're going to loop through them. And let's go ahead and take this room list item. So copy it and remove it. And let's go to the feed component. So we'll go ahead and paste this into the feed component. So now let's go back into home and let's just go ahead and include the feed. So we'll just do include, and we'll just do base and then feed underscore component .html. Okay, so we include this feed component underneath the header. So there's already technically a container around it. So everything's already wrapping it. So let's go to the feed component and let's check this out here. So in the feed component, we have this room list item. So I want to minimize that, take this value. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and start cleaning this section up. So we're going to get rid of these 2 divs right here. And let's just take this for loop and let's put this above this item right here. So we're just going to copy this and we're going to create like a copy of this section down below. So we're just going to copy that. And if you refresh your page, it's going to be a little bit messed up at this point. So we have a for loop and we're outputting each item. So we just want to update with all the contents inside of here. So in the actual template, we decided to, me and my designer, Sharir Shuva, we decided to get rid of these edit and delete buttons and let the user do that from their own profile. So we're going to get rid of this section. And let's just go ahead and update the actual room list item line by line. So the first thing is we have a link to the user profile. So we're just going to go ahead and add in a URL tag. So we'll just do URL and then user-profile. And then we'll just take the room.host.id. So we'll add that in. For the avatar, well, that's going to be updated once we add the user icon here. We'll change the username. We'll just do room.host.username. So we're just going upwards there. And we're going to change this section for the actual time it was posted. We'll just do room.created. And then we'll just do the time since filter. Okay, so we have the username, we have a link, the created time. For the title here, we just want to change that to the room title, so room or the room name, and we want to update the link to point to the room. So let's just scroll down here and take this link right here to the room. We'll take this, go up here, back to the room name, and we're going to paste that around the link. And I'm also going to get rid of the description. I don't like the description in there. For some reason, the more I look at it, it just makes the feed look a little bit more cluttered. So I figured if users want to have a description, maybe you can have like the beginning of the description and just trim it. That can also work too, but I feel like it would look better without it. So now in this section, we have some more data about the room or information. Let's just take this URL, and this also is going to wrap this section. So what is this right here? This is the icon of the joined section, or the how many people have joined section. So the icon that shows the users. Let's paste in the room link here. And let's see, there's nothing in the room to update. So I'm going to try going through this section as slow as possible. So we want the room topic. So room.topic.name. And let's see. In this section where we have all the participants, we can just, or we can see how many people have joined the room. That's going to be the participants. So we'll just do room.participants like that, .all.count. So we can just get all of those by that many-to-many field. Now, I think that's it. For all the links and all the content, I think we're done. Again, we'll go back and fix it. So I can take this bottom loop right here, get rid of that, and all the information should be updated. So let's save that. And let's go back to our feed here. Or let's go back to our template, refresh that, and here we go. This is now the rooms that I have. So we can see all the rooms here. All these are linked up here. I can go to the user, and I can see how many people have joined. That's also clickable. We see the topic, and that looks good. Okay, so we're gonna get to the user profile really soon, and the user profile is gonna be really easy because it has the same components. So all we're gonna have to do is update the actual title. So, or not the title, but the container. So the last thing I wanna do here on the homepage is update this activity feed. And once we update the activity feed in the user profile will also be updated. So let's go ahead and go back here. We'll go to the activity feed and let's go to the home page actually. And let's just take a look at this. So we have our home page. We have the feed component. Then we have this comment that says where the activities start and stop. So we have all this content and we're just gonna go ahead and put this into a component. So the first thing I wanna do is go ahead and add in the activity component. So we'll use the include tag. So we'll just do include, and this is going to be base / activity _ component .html. So let's grab all this content right here. So this is all inside of one main div. So we're going to grab all of that. I'll minimize it and then copy it. So we'll copy this, remove it, and let's go to the activity component now. So in here, I'm just going to get rid of this title here. We'll do the same thing like we did with the room component or the feed component. We're going to paste in the activity feed and we're going to start updating things. So what do we have in here? So we have a link to the actual post here, to the actual room based or the user's profile. So whoever made that comment. So let's take this link right here and let's go back into the styled component. And let's see, so we have the profile which we link to. So we're gonna paste that over. And let's actually just grab one item. So it looks like there's 2 items in the activity feed. So I'll minimize the first one. And we'll just grab the second one here. Let's see, is it the activities box? It is, so it's the activities box. So let's minimize that and let's take the second one. We only need one and we're just gonna be looping through these. So we have the link here. We haven't created the for loop yet. We'll create that in a second. We have the logo that's about to be created. Then we have the actual username. So we'll go down here and let's just take the username. So message.username, which we're going to be outputting through the loop. And we'll take the time since tag here. So the created time, we'll put that in right here. And let's see, so we also want a link here to be able to remove it, to actually remove an item. So let's create the for loop. So let's take this for loop, for message and messages, then we output each activities box. So we put that right there, find the closing tag to the activities box and create the end for loop, so end for. Okay, so in this section, this is where we're gonna have an if statement right here. So this is gonna be the delete icon. We only want users who made the original post to be allowed to delete it. So we're gonna create this condition right here around this item right here. So the room list room actions. Okay, so blame Shuvo for the CSS convention there for the naming. Okay, so we have the user, we check if it's the user, and if it is, then we just take that delete link and we're gonna throw that in right here. So that's gonna be in this condition right here, throw that in. That's gonna be an X icon here. So that's an SVG image. So we have that right there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this condition from this section. Just wanna clean things up. So we'll take everything from here. We also wanna output the message. So where was the message? So the message is right here. So the room content. So we have the remove item. Underneath that, we have the room content. So we'll just do, or the message.body. So the message body itself. And then we have the replied to. So that's going to show the original title. So we'll just do message And let's see, we did message.room.title, I think, or name. Just want to make sure. So that's supposed to be in curly braces. We want to wrap that right there. We'll go down to the original. So we did message.room. So we're just outputting the room name, and we don't need to actually do room name like that. So we have the room name, we have the body, and we want to make sure that we link to that room. So somebody, if somebody sees that message, we want them to be able to click on that. So in this section right here, let's see, let's just add the link right here. So we'll just do room here. So let's see, we're going into message, or this is actually going to be a URL tag. So let's fix that up. We'll do URL, and we're going to room. And the link here for the ID is going to be message.room.id. So we have the body. All the links look good here. Let me just go ahead and remove this. So we have the time since stamp. So I'll remove the original content. Let's save it. Let's take a look, see if we have any issues. Let's go back to the home feed. And we're missing a block tag. So invalid block tag on line 29 here. So on line 29, this is supposed to be an end if. So end if like that. Okay, so here we go. So we have the activity feed. So if I click on the user, I can see the user's profile. If I click on the actual item here, that takes me to the room, and I can see the message, and the time since is correct. Okay, so I thought maybe I didn't update that. So time since looks good, and that creates our home page. Okay, so we took the most time here because we had to work on our main template, the navigation bar, and I had to kind of explain some concepts here. So the next thing I want to do here is jump to the profile. So when we click on a user profile, I want to go here because this is the next section here that is going to be the easiest to update. So let's go ahead and open up our theme, and we'll open up our website. So let's go to the main website. Let's go into base, into templates, and then let's find the profile.html file. So let's bring that in. Actually, I want to bring that into the base folder. So the original profile page, actually, let's just go ahead and name that to _old like that. And then let's bring in the new profile. So that's going to mess up some stuff here. So if I actually refresh, now we see this right here. So we need to update all of this. So let's go into the profile page now. So we'll close out the activity component. Let's keep the home component open because I want to copy this extends main.html and block tag right here. And we'll go into profile. And because it's a template, there's no dynamic data. The header section and all this information will be on every single page. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this doc tag and scroll all the way down to the closing header tag. So where main is right here, let's just remove all of that. And let's just paste in this section or write that out. So extend the main template, create the block tag, and then go to the bottom here at the closing main tag. And let's just remove body and HTML, and we'll just do end block. So at this point, I'm going to move a little bit faster. So we'll just do end block content. So I'm going to move faster because the concept was already explained. Now I'm just going to be changing out the information. So this is now my profile page. Now it's time to update the actual content here. So this isn't the real content. This is all hard coded. We can see the topics here. That's not the right topics that we have here. So we want to just go ahead and update all of these. So let's do that. So let's see, we have a topics component that we used in the original, so profile_old. So I'm just going to get rid of, actually I'll leave that. Let's go ahead and take this include topics component and let's bring that into profile. So in profile.html inside of the new one, here is the topics wrapper. So I'm going to minimize that. We can see topics start, topics end. So I can get rid of all of that right there. And I'm just going to replace that with this component right here. So all I'm doing is just removing that component, updating it, and that should be good. So if I go ahead and refresh this, now we see the real topic. So I can do the same for the activity feed. So if I go back into the home page, I'm just going to go ahead and grab the activity component. Let's go back to the new profile page, and let's just minimize this room list right here. Let's go into activities. And let's just remove all of these two. So we'll get rid of those and paste in this activity component. Save that. And there we go. So that's all updated now. And I also need to update the feed here, and I'll just update these contents in a second. So Shuvo's being funny here, wrote in Dennis Kardashian Ivanov. That's funny. Trolling me. So let's go ahead and update that so we see the room list. Here we have a profile. So this is the profile information. So we'll update this in a second. I'll minimize that. Then we have the room list header. So, okay, so that's the header section. Then we have the room item here. So we can see that we have two of these. So room list and room list. Okay, so let's minimize these. I keep forgetting the names here. So room list content, no, it's room list right here. Let's minimize that and minimize that. So we have the two fake components. Let's remove both of those. So let's remove these two divs. And let's include this feed component. So we're just going to update that, and this is going to output each user's feed right here. So that can be pasted in right here. So inside of the room list, or underneath the room list header, let's paste that in right here. Okay, so that should be it. So if I refresh it, I can see Dennis is not hosting any rooms. I'm not sure if that's the case. Let's just try this. Let's see. If I go to Dennis. Okay, so I am hosting rooms. This just needs to be updated. So we actually need to update the contents here. At this point, we're not going to update the about section because we haven't added that in. We'll take care of that in a little bit. But I do want to update the name here and the username, and then the edit and the user icon here will be updated too later once we get to that section. So let's go ahead and go to this right here in the room list tag. We'll go to the profile section. Let's change the name. And this is just going to be user.username. And then later on, we can actually output a real name. So we'll just go ahead and take that, copy that, replace it, and the edit link will be updated once we add that page. So if I refresh it, there we go. So if I go back to the home page, let's click on Eric. Eric doesn't have any rooms hosted, but I can see his information and I can see all of Eric's comments. Let's try one more. And let's just go to Tim. There we go. So that's all good here. So let's go to the actual room itself now. So if I click on a room, I want to style this page now. So let's go ahead and open up the two folders again. And let's bring in, or let's rename the old room page. So we'll just rename that to room_old. And let's grab the new room template and let's just bring that in right here. So we have the new room template. If I refresh that, we need to change out the content. So the styling is there. Let's go to the home page. Take those same block tags right here, these two block tags, to extend the template, and we'll go into room.html. So again, we're going to go to the opening doc tag, copy all of this all the way to the main tag. So right here. I guess my mouse isn't showing. So we're going to paste that in right here, and then we can close that up here. So we'll just take this tag, and let's remove the closing. Wow, that's a lot of scrolling. So we'll fix this up in a second. Let's remove the closing HTML and body tag, and we'll just do end block. So now if I save this, you might have to do a Control-Shift-R, do a hard refresh. So now we see the page. Again, the content needs to be updated. So let's start with this participants side right here. I want to change that because that's just making my HTML file a little bit obnoxious here. So let's start with these participants here. So here we go. We see a participant, the actual link. So each participant is wrapped inside of a link. So let's take the opening participant and let's just scroll all the way down to the last participant. So I see that right here. Let's go one above and let's keep one. So if I save that, we should see one participant, and we want to go ahead and just loop through. So in the original room page, we just looped through all the participants like this. So we did 4 user in participants. Go ahead and output that. So here we go. We have one participant inside of that section. Then we'll put in the closing end4 tag. So end4, save that, and now that should output that information. We need to update the actual contents. So this is going to be user.username, and we're just going to repeat this right here, and we'll just do user.username. We want to add in the link here. So we see, oh, we didn't link it up earlier. So let's add in a link to the user's profile. If you see a participant, you want to go ahead and visit their profile, see what kind of rooms they're hosting. or reach out to them, we can just do user dot or dash or hyphen profile, and then user.id. Okay, so we have the link. We want to get the count here. So let's see, we'll just take the participant count. Let's just take this value because I always have a hard time spelling that word. We'll just do dot count. So that's a query set. So we can just take that value and do dot count, refresh it, and there we go. So 3 people have joined this room. I'll zoom in a little bit. That's all taken care of. I can click on a user profile. That all looks good. And now we need to update the actual study room. And the CSS might look a little bit off because I'm so zoomed in right now. So we'll work on that. If there are any issues, I'll make sure that the template is updated by the time you take this course or follow this video. So now we need to just update the room information. So let's update the name here, and let's update the delete and edit links here. So we also want to update that backlink too. So let's just start by going through line by line here. So we'll start at the top here, and let's see. So we have the room. So one second, just need to get some notes ready. So we have the room. This is the back button here. Let's just send the user back to the home page. We're not going to worry about the details here. If you want to send them somewhere else or maybe the previous page, you can do that. For now, I'm just going to send the user back to the home page. That's an arrow left button, study room. Let's see. So in this section, top right, let's see, we have the edit links right here. So top right section, we have the edit and delete links. So let me minimize these. Then we have the delete link. So what I want to do is make sure that only the owner of each room can actually modify this. So I'm going to update this right here. So we'll create a condition. And for this top right section, let's go ahead and create that. So we'll just say if room.host is equal to request.user, then we want to output this. Otherwise, we don't want just anybody editing the room. So we'll just do end for, save that, and let's take a look. So let's refresh it. What did I do here? So I did that whole thing again where I forgot to make that end if, not end for. Okay, so we see the study room. If I go to a room that I'm not hosting, I'm logged in as Dennis here. Let's just find a room that Tim is hosting. So I actually want to go to the room. I want to learn HTML. So I can't edit that, but I can edit my own. So if I go to I want to learn JavaScript, we can see these 2 links. So let's update these links. We'll go in here. Let's expand these. So this is the edit link. So we'll just go ahead and create the URL tag. So we'll do URL, and then this will be update-room. And we want the room ID, so room.id. Okay, and let's just copy this right here and minimize this section, and then we'll go to the delete link, and we're just going to add in delete room. Okay, so delete room right there. Refresh it. So if I go X right there, that works. Edit, that gives me the form here. So we'll finish up styling those. Okay, so now we should move on to probably updating the title. So let's just remove this comment here. That should be gone by the time you see that. I'll try to make sure that's updated. Here we have the room title. Let's modify all of this. So room.name, not title. Then we have the created time. So we'll just do room.created, and then pipe time since. Then hosted by, well, this is going to be the host URL here. So first we want to add in the link. So URL, and then user-profile. And then that's going to be room.host.id. Hosted by, and then later on we'll update the user profile, and let's just output room.host.username. Okay, so refresh that. Let's learn JavaScript. That looks good. We see the host. That link works. At this point, let's also get rid of this description. I don't know why, but I just don't really like the idea of a description. Like on a Discord server, you might have some kind of description there, but it really doesn't just show up there. So what I'm going to do is just comment that out. I feel like it's going to look better, and it's going to make this website a little bit more responsive here. So the description of a room is gone. We want to output the topic. So room.topic. We'll save that. Okay, so that's JavaScript. If I go to study with me, that's Python. Okay, so we'll remain here because there are 3 comments here that we want to output. So these are all the fake comments. We're going to modify these right now. And again, this footer right here, if it needs to be fixed, we'll fix it later. In the template, the HTML should not change. But also I'm really zoomed in, so that's why this is probably happening here. So let's go into the contents. So let's see, we're going line by line. Author of a thread here. So I think it's called thread. I think that's what each item here is called. So we see threads. So if I add some space here, minimize this class of thread, I can see another class of thread. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and delete all of them and keep just one and then create the for loop. So I can see three threads right here. Can't say that. And let's go ahead and create some space. Let's make sure there's only one. Okay, so I see one thread right here. Now let's go ahead and create that loop. So let's see. In the original room, we just did, when we outputted this content, we just did 4 message in room messages. So let's paste that loop in, or just write that out. And then at the bottom of the thread, let's just do end 4. Okay. So in the thread, now we want to update the contents. So we want to link to the user. So we're just adding in a bunch of the same links. This section is going to be pretty long, probably an hour, maybe even an hour and a half, and I'll just make sure to timestamp it. But this is all important for making sure this project is nice and styled. So profile, and then we'll just do user.id, or we'll just do message.user.id. Then we'll just take the message user, output that, username, the post here, that's going to be the message with the time since stamp. So message.created, and then pipe time since. Okay. I'm really I blocked that out. Sorry about that. So let me just minimize that. So my face blocked that. So there you go. You can see the code right here. Okay. Oh. Okay, so there we go. We see the message and we see the username. And we also want to make sure that this delete method is conditional. So if a user is the owner of this specific message, then we want to output this. So we'll add in an end if statement and then an if statement right here. So we'll just do if, and then we'll just start with request.user is equal to message.user. That should output that. And this should send the user to the delete section here. So I need to add in a link around this. I noticed that the link was not built in. So if it's not added by the time you see this, go ahead and just add this link around here. And let's just do href. I guess it's not an issue because I showed you, as long as I don't miss out on that. And we'll just do URL, and this will be delete-message and then message.id. Okay, so for the actual contents of the message right here, we'll just do message.body, paste that in. Let's check this out. We'll refresh it. And there we go. We see our messages. That looks good. We see the timestamp. We see each user. The user is clickable. If I go to delete, so in this case, I am Dennis here as a user. I'm logged in as Dennis. I can click on delete and I can confirm that. And everything looks good for the room section. So let's go ahead and work on the create room form. So at this point, let's see. We have this link here, or we should have it. Where the heck did that link go? So I'm logged in. Was that not in the original template, or did I get rid of that? Okay, so I had to pause for a minute because apparently I deleted this create room link right here. So I'll make sure that it's in the template once you're working with this, but I couldn't find it and we must have accidentally removed it when we were making edits here. So at this point, inside of your home.html file, go ahead and open up this section right here where we have the study room title and the room count. And go ahead and go to this link and just update this to URL and then create room. So create-room, and that should update our link. So if you go to the page here, now you should see this section right here. So when we go to create room, the first thing I'm going to do here is style this page. So I want to make sure that it's all styled. We'll install the theme, and then I'm going to add in some functionality here so a user can actually add in their own topic here. So that's going to require a little bit more in the back end to customize that. So we'll get to that in a second. So the first thing is I want to go ahead and install the theme here. So let's open up the theme and let's open up the original template. So on the right, I have my current project. On the left, I have the theme. So this is going to be create room right here. So let's bring that in. And let's just do this. I call that room form, and this can actually update a room too. So it doesn't only create it. So I see room form right here. Let's just change this to room form underscore old. And we'll change this create room right here to room form. So room underscore form, and that's already an HTML file. So now if I refresh it, I can see this. So we're gonna have to update this information right now. So we'll just go ahead and take these block tags right here where we extend the template. Let's open this up and let's go into the room form. So in the room form, we're gonna take the doc tag all the way to main, remove that, paste in the extends method, and take this block tag, go to the bottom, and we'll remove everything to body, and we'll make sure this is an end block. Okay, so we want to be able to update the room. So we have a form here, so let's go ahead and first fix up some links here, and then we'll output the form. So in this section here at the top, let's go ahead and start here. Let's just kind of read through everything. Start with this first link, and let's see, we'll just go ahead and add in a URL to the home page. So we'll just do home or a URL tag, and then we have create study room. Let's just do create/update or something like that. Save it like that. And for the form value, the action is going to the original URL. The method is going to be post. So let's look up the original or the old form room. So we have the action, the post method. We're going to get that CSRF token. Let's paste that in right here. And let's see. So if I go ahead and look at the fields now. So here we see a form group. We see some information here. So let's just comment this section out right here. So I want to comment that out. We have a form group right here. So what I could do is just create a for loop around this. So I could just go ahead and do something like for field in form, and then just do end for. So if I do something like this and get rid of these fields right here, this will actually work here. So if I save this, let's just see what we have at this point. So let's just make sure the form is working. Looks like we need a closing block tag. Let's see, end for. So let's refresh that, and this should be good once we output the field values. So in this case, we'll just do field.label. Let's get rid of that R right there, fix the spelling error, and we'll just output the actual field. So I'm just going to comment that out. And then let's just go ahead and bring in the field. So we have the label, we can access the label like that, and then we can actually output the field value. So for the most part, it should be styled. Okay, so here we go. So we see our topics. If I select Django, let's just try Python. Let's just do Python, and we'll just say, let's keep learning. I'm not really creative with these titles, and we'll submit that. So here we go. I see that I created it. The form is officially working and it's styled. Now in this section, we're going to learn something new if you don't already understand how this works. So we're going to use an input field that also has a drop down select option here. So let's go ahead and get rid of this for loop right here. So we'll still use the model form, but some of the fields I'll manually render them out, and one field in particular for that drop down list, I'll hand code everything. So with a model form, I can actually access the form and then access a specific value here. So this will be form.name, and that will be that form field. Now I could also do the same thing with the label here. In this case, I'm just going to write it out because it's a small field here. So we'll just, or a small form. So we'll just do room name, and let's just go ahead and get rid of this. Let's copy this one right here, and we'll just do form.description. So we're just going to get the values manually, room description. And let's continue here. Okay, so I already have the code right here in the template, but I want to manually code it up just so I can explain as I move along here. So the first thing is I just want to go ahead and copy this div right here. So let's just copy all of this, paste it in, and I'm going to get rid of this value here. And for this section in the for attribute here, we'll just do topic. So we'll get the topic, and let's actually update this to description. and let's continue. Okay, so this is going to be a drop-down list, but the first thing we're going to do is add in the input value. So it's a drop-down list with an input value. The type will be text, and the name needs to be topic here. So this is how we're going to get this in the backend. So we're still submitting the same form data. So we have that, and we're also going to set this to required. So we want to make sure that a user can't submit it without selecting a topic or adding their own. And then we're going to add in the list property here, and we're just going to set this to topic-list. Okay, so we have a standard input field. The only thing that looks different here at this point is this section right here. So if you're not familiar with it, that's all that's changed here. If you already know this, well, I'm just going to be going over stuff that you understand. Now, we also have a data list tag here that we can work with. Now, a data list is going to be the options that drop down when the user starts typing something in. And in this section, we need to add the ID, and the ID needs to match this section right here. So we're basically saying, where is this list right here? And we're pointing to topic list, and that has the ID right here. So make sure those two match. That's how it knows where to find it. Then let's go ahead and add in the select option. So we'll just do select here, and we're going to give this an ID here. So we'll just do, what the heck did I do there? Okay, so we'll do ID, and this will be room topic. And then we want the options here. So the option, we'll just use the option tag. These are going to be the form options. So let's say we just do something like Python, and then we set the value here. So the value typically would be something like an ID, but in this case, we're just going to set the string value. So we'll just do Python. So it would be the ID of like the child objects. And then we can throw in Django. So there's a reason why I'm doing things this way. We'll see it in a second. Okay, so now that I did this, we added the data list with the options. Let's go ahead and take a look at this form here. So if I go here, when I click on this, we see this drop-down option and we see these values. So if I start typing in Python, it does a search. If I want to add in my own, let's say I want to add in Java, then I can actually submit my own value. So that's just what we need in the front end here. And what I actually need to do here is pass in some more information because I don't want to hard code this value out. That also needs to be dynamic. So we need to go ahead and go into the create form view, and let's just go ahead and get the topics. So we'll just do topics. That'll be topic.objects.all. So we'll get all the topics, we'll pass those into the template, and then we can go into the room form, and we're going to create a for loop just to output all the real topics. So as we add them, we obviously want the users to see all of those. So we'll just do for topic in topics. And then let's get rid of this last option, or the second one, and we'll just close off the for loop. So we'll do end for, and we're going to pass in the topic values now. So we'll just do topic.name, take this right here, and we'll bring that in for the value. So I also want to do the same for the update view. So if a user is updating it, we're going to need the same values now. So we want to be able to get the topic. So let's bring that in here. Pass that into the context dictionary for the update view. And now if I go here, if I click on this, we see all of our real topics. If I start typing something in, it starts searching automatically, and there we go. So that's all we need for the front end. Now in the back end, we're gonna have to process this a little bit differently. So now we have this data list and our form looks a little bit different. So we're not gonna be able to use the standard model form. Now I probably could customize it a lot to work with this, but in this case, I only need to customize this view, so we'll stick with just keeping things simple. So the first thing I want to do is get the topic name. So we'll just go ahead and go into request.post.get, and we're going to get the topic. Okay, so once I get the topic, we're going to go ahead and set this value, and we're going to use a method called get or create. So we set topic and created, and we're just going to do, and I'll explain what this is in a second. So we'll just do topics.objects.get or create. So it's a method here. I'll make sure that I'm not covering it. And what's going to happen here is get or create is going to return back either an object, or it will return an object and created. And what's going to happen here is if we pass in the topic name for the name value. So let's say we add in JavaScript or Python. We already have Python. So get or create is going to get the value of Python, and it's going to return it inside of this topic object. Now created will be false because Python wasn't created. We already had this. But let's say I added in a new value like just Java. Now we don't have Java in our database at this point. So what's going to happen is created will be true, and this will simply create the object. So if it can't find it, it will create it. So that's what get or create is doing. So this is how we're going to be able to customize that form, since we are trying to also add this. Now, what I'm going to do here is get rid of everything in here. So I'm just going to comment this out right here, and I'm going to change this up here. So we're not going to be using the form here, and I can also comment out this right here. So at this point, underneath this section, we're just going to go into room.objects.create, and we're going to use the create method because we're customizing that topic section. I try to find easier ways to do this, and this is actually very easy, but I try to find a way to do this with a model form easier, and I couldn't find one that wouldn't require more explanation. So I wanted to keep it simpler. So we have the host here, and once we get the host, and we just finished updating our form, so now we're like redoing the same information here, or redoing the same thing, but now it's going to be a little bit different. So we're just going to do host, and that's going to be request.user. So you still got to at least learn that method if you need that elsewhere. So at least you know how to do that. So now that we got the host, we're going to get the topic, and we're going to set the topic to either the newly created topic or what we had in the database. So we're creating a room with all this information. And for the name, we're just going into request.post.get, and we're passing in the name. So the name will still be passed in from the form value. So we still have it right there. We still have the model form fields. Those will be sent. So we get the name, and then we need to get the description if we have a description. So that's not required, so we'll just do description, and we're just getting the description from the front end. So I hope that makes sense. So once we run through this, I'm just going to go ahead and let's just remove this actually. So we'll just remove that. There's no need for that. So now when we submit this, we create that topic, and then we redirect a user. So let's go ahead and save that. And here we go. So let's try this. So let's see, what's a new topic? Let's just do Java. So we'll just do Java, and we're going to create a room, and we'll just say calling all Java developers. Okay, so now we submit that. Here we go. We see the room, and we see a new topic added. Now, if I go to create a new topic, Java is now here. So the next time someone submits this, that's going to go ahead and create this. So for the update functionality, let's see. So we need to be able to also update a room. And this I haven't really thought about yet. Actually, I didn't really prep for this in the tutorial, but let's just see how we can figure this out. So let's see. So in the update room functionality, we're rendering out the topics. And in order to pre-fill the room name, I guess that's supposed to be a topic, not a room name. So let's fix that in the form. So we'll go back here. This is supposed to be the topic. Actually, we'll just say enter a topic. So we want to prompt the user. So we'll do enter a topic. Let's try that one more time. Okay, so first of all, the form needs to be pre-filled. So let's take care of that issue. So we'll go ahead and take the room. We'll pass that into the context dictionary. We'll bring that in. Then we can go into the room itself. And for the value, we'll just set the value here, and that will be room.topic. So room.topic.name. Now let's see if that gives us an issue with the create room. So if I go to create room, okay, so it's not giving us an issue, so it's totally fine. Let's try to add in another topic. We'll just say C++. Let's learn C. So I just want to debug on the go. So C is added, and there was no issues. Okay, so now we want to edit that. So we see C++. Let's learn C. And I also need to process this too. So when I submit this, this form will not work in the back end. So I'm going to do what we did up here. I'm just going to copy this right here. We're going to take all of this, and we're going to bring this into the post method. Then I'm just going to go ahead and remove all of that, and we'll just set the return method back. And we're going to get the room. So we'll get the current room, and we'll just get the name. We'll get the room name, and let's just do room name is equal to request.post.get, and then we'll get the name value. So we're just simply going to get the model and update all the values. So we'll set that for the topic and the description. So we'll just do topic, And then for the topic, we'll get either that newly created topic, because a user can edit something and decide to create a new topic, and we want to be able to set that. So we'll just do description, and then we'll just do request.post.description, and then we need to save it. So let's try this. Some things I don't plan for in all the tutorials or in these tutorials. So let's try this again. Okay, so let's say we decide to change this up, and we'll just do C# now. So we'll throw that in. I think that's a symbol. So we'll just do let's learn C#, exclamation point, add in a description. Let's just say something random here so we know everything's submitting. And let's go ahead and hit create room. Let's learn C#, and that was updated. Perfect. Okay, so that's C#. We see the topic, C# was added, and everything looks good. So instead of saying create room, let's just say update too. I want to make sure that form looks good. I could write some kind of condition here, but we'll just say submit. That's going to be a little bit more generic. Okay, so that's it for our create room form. So we're able to update and create with a styled form with the ability to add in multiple topics here. So now you can see all these new topics be added. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is give the user the ability to edit their account. So we don't even have this page here, so we want to start building this in here. So let's go ahead and do this. And at the bottom here, or let's just go ahead and open up our files here. Let's start with the theme, and let's start with, or let's move to our app too. So we'll go into study bud. We'll go into base. So in the base app, in templates, in base, let's go ahead and go in the templates here, and we're going to take edit user. Okay, so we're going to drag this in. We have edit user, and I'm going to change the name to update user. So we'll do update dash user, and that's it. Okay, so now we want to create a view for this. So this is going to be a completely new page. So we're not going to be changing content out. We'll just be building it for the first time. We'll go down here. Let's create a function-based view called update user. Pass in request. I also want to make sure this view right here is restricted, so you shouldn't be able to update a view if you're not logged in. We'll just do login required, and then we'll set the login URL, and that's going to login. Let's see, how did I set that? Yeah, so we set the login URL to login. Okay, so we're creating the view, and then we want to return. This is going to be render. We'll pass in request here, and we're passing in base / update user.html. Okay, so that's in here now. Update user, we see the full template, and let's pass in the context dictionary. Well, for now we might not even need one. I don't remember how I was gonna build this one out, so we'll just kind of wing it here and see. So we'll take this delete message. Let's go ahead and move this down here, and we'll just say update, and then change that to user. Let's remove this, so we don't need an ID because the user is going to be the logged in user. Change that to update user, and we'll just do update user like that. Okay, so we have a view, and we have a URL that returns back the template that needs to be fixed up right now. And inside of our navigation bar, so we want to link to this from a few sections. The first one is going to be the nav bar. So we'll go into the nav bar here, and let's see, in this drop down section we see the username, and then down here are going to be the drop down menu items. Let's just change this to update user. So we'll set the URL tag, update-user. Okay, so let's try this out. If I go into the navigation bar, I'm logged in, go to settings. Here we go. Here is my update user page. So let's make sure that it's styled. So we'll go ahead and fix that. We'll open up update user in templates, and let's just go ahead and take everything from doc type all the way down to header, extend the main template. I'm sure you guys are getting pretty annoyed at this point dealing with the same thing, but it's just repetitive and we have to do it. So main.html, I think we've done this like 15 times at this point. So we'll just do block tag or block content, and then end block content. We'll just copy that, bring that down here, remove body and HTML at the closing main tag, and let's take a look at the page here. Okay, so here is our edit user template. So I also want to link to this from my profile. So if I happen to go to a specific profile, so I'm logged in as Dennis, we have an edit profile link here. So we'll create a condition. I think I might have already did that. we'll go to profile here, and let's see. So we have the about section, edit user. So we'll just go ahead and write the condition. So if request.user is equal to the currently logged, or if the user that we're on is currently matching the logged in user, then we want to render that button, and we'll add in the link. So end if, kept messing that one up earlier, and we'll add in the URL tag. So we'll just do URL and update dash user. Okay, so we have that information. We have the template. This link should now work. So if I'm on my own profile, I can edit my account. If I'm on, let's say, Eric's account, I can't edit that, so that is hidden. So let's work on the functionality. So we want to be able to create a form that we can actually process. So that link also needs to be updated. So that was also one in the navigation bar. It looks like there's two in the nav bar. So let's take this update user link and let's go right here. So that also needs to be updated. So we can click on that without having to go to the drop-down menu. Okay, so let's go in here. Let's go ahead and go into update user and let's take a look here. So we have a form here. We have a container. We have a link to the profile picture here. Oh, so that's the back button. So let's just go ahead and let's just redirect the user back to the home page. For now, we're just going to stick to that. So if you want to change that up, I would recommend just going through and updating all of these. So we have our form. This needs to be sent to the same URL. So we're going to leave action blank. The method needs to be a post method. We need a CSRF token. So we'll just do CSRF underscore token. Now for these form values here, let's go ahead and remove all of these and we'll just leave one. So we're going to use a model form for this. So we'll take all these and we're going to leave form action. So we're going to leave our template with one form. That looks good. And let's see. So we're going to have a file upload field once we're dealing with that profile picture. So that'll be taken care of in a little bit here. So now let's go ahead and create a model form for our user. So we'll go into forms. And what I need to do is actually import my user model. So we'll go to models and let's just take this import and we'll go back into forms.py. So we're going to import the user and we're going to create a model form based around this user. So we'll just do user form, pass in model form. Then we can throw in class meta, specify the model. And that's going to be for fields, instead of specifying all of them, because a user model has a lot of fields, there's passwords, is super user, all this information. We don't want to give them everything. So we'll just specify the username. So that's what's going to be output, and then an email. And later on, we'll do like a bio and a profile picture. But for now, that's going to be it. So we'll just output the username and email, and the user can update that. So inside of the view, we need to import this. So we'll just do user form. Let's bring this down here. Let's render this form. So we'll just do form that's equal to user form. And let's see. So the instance, well, this is going to be the request.user. So we want to make sure to get the initial user value. Actually, let's just set the user value like this so we're not using request.user every time. So we'll set the instance as the user, and then we want to send that into the context dictionary. In this case, I won't create a full context dictionary. I'll just pass it in directly like that, and that is going to be hidden there. So I want to make sure you can see that. So we pass in the form, and we can access that as form. So we'll go into the template, and let's create that for loop here. So in update user, we'll create a for loop, and we'll just output every single form field. This will help us keep some styling. So we can just do for field in form, add in that end for loop, end for, and let's see, we'll just change this to field.label, and then we'll change this to the actual field. So the model form, once we add in the upload field, well, that will manually output it itself. So we'll just do field. So the model form will take care of that for us. So if I refresh this, let's go ahead and, oh, did I pass that in? For field in form, this is user update. We have our form passed in. Let's save everything. Oh, I didn't specify. Wow, I completely butchered this one. So we'll just do fields. Hopefully you noticed that. and we need to specify the model. So let's just do model, and that's going to be the user. Okay, so that was the issue. So if I refresh this, let's see what's going on right now. So fields is prohibited with the exclude value. So let's try this. I can't tell if it's this form or the old form that's having the issue, which I don't fully understand. So it's in user form. We have the user model. Let's try to restart the server. So let's scroll up here, make sure we can all see the issue. Start the server, and let's see if I still get the issue. Okay, so maybe I spelled something wrong there. So use update user. Okay. User. Wow. That was a dumb mistake. Okay, so this is why we don't specify all the fields here. So it outputs everything, my hash password, last logged in, all this information. So let's try this one more time. I think the issue occurred because I was messing with the wrong form here. So let's try this again. So we'll just do username and email, and this should work. Okay, there we go. Now we have a form with my username and my email. So all I want to do is just be able to process this now. So we'll go into the view, and this is going to be a standard model form. So we'll just do if, or a standard post request. So if.request or if request.method. If this is equal to post, you already know what we're going to do. We're just going to go ahead and set the form. That's going to be the user form. Pass in request.post, set the instance to the user, and then we want to check if that's valid. So if form.is_valid, let's go ahead and process this. So we'll just do form.save, and then we want to redirect our user. In this case, we're going to send the user back to their profile. So let's just do user-profile, and we're going to pass in the argument of primary key, and that's going to be the user.id. So user.id, like that. Okay, so let's try this. So let's say I want to change my username. So I'm just going to change it to Dennis Ivy, and we'll just change the email to dennisivy@gmail. So if I submit that, okay, so it updated it. Apparently it didn't redirect me. So return redirect. Wow, I don't know why I'm starting to make all these mistakes. So let's try Dennis Ivy 1, submit that. And there we go. So I'm back at my profile. I can edit that. Let's go back to Dennis Ivy, submit that, and there we go. So we can now edit a user profile. So at this point, I just want to do some cleanup work here. So we want to make sure that our website is completely mobile responsive. We also want to make sure that our delete template is filled out here. So we're still not using that main template, and also the login form here. So when I go to login, this template needs to be finished up here. So we want to use the themes template. Now there's a few things I noticed here, so we'll just keep doing cleanup as we go, and I want to try to finish up most of this before we move on to the Django REST framework and building out our API and that custom user model. So the first thing I noticed is that when I submit this form, it doesn't actually submit anything, and I think that's because in the template here in the room.html file, I forgot to update that form. So there's a chance that I'm going to miss a few of these here, so we'll just keep going back and fixing those. So in that room message form, we see this form tag. The first thing is I want to make sure action is blank here. So we're sending that to the same URL, and we want to add in the post method. So we want to make sure that's a post method. Anytime we are sending a post method, we want to add in a CSRF token. So CSRF_token. And we need to pass in the name here. So this is going to be the body of the actual form. So let's give that a test here. So if I refresh that, it looks like it added in a search parameter. We'll go ahead and refresh that, and we'll just say looks cool. And there we go. Okay, so that's working now. It just added us to the participants. Everything looks good. And let's go ahead and add in the delete template. So when I go to delete an item, remember that you need to be logged in as a specific user, so I can't delete anyone, so make sure you find one that you can actually delete here. And let's add in this template here. So we'll go ahead and open up our theme again. So we'll add that to the left side, and then we're going to open up our project here on the right side. So down in the templates folder, we'll go to delete, and we're just going to do delete_old. So we're just going to replace the content here. Then we're going to grab delete from here and bring that in here. So if I go to the delete page, actually before I do that, let's go ahead and actually extend the main template. So we'll go to delete.html, take this doc type right here, so this tag all the way down to the main tag, delete all of that, go ahead and extend the main template. So I just want to make sure to see that before we actually check out the page. And we need to create the block tags here. So we just have 2 more templates, I think, to replace right now, and then we're going to add in a couple more pages here for mobile responsiveness. So this is going to be block content, and then down here we can get rid of body and HTML and also script, and we'll just do end block content. So end block content. Okay, so now if I go to this template, it looks a little bit better. So we just need to complete this form. So we'll just update this information, make sure that it's actually a real page here. So we'll need to open up the old delete HTML file. We'll just bring that in like this. And we just need to make sure that it's a post method. So we'll take that right here. Let's go to the form. So we see the main tags, a couple of divs here, and we see the form right here. So let's just go ahead and replace action right there with the method and the action with the empty value. So we're just pasting stuff in here. Take that CSRF token, bring that in right here. And for the back button, instead of doing things this way, we're just going to take this section right here and we're going to add that to this back arrow. So that's just going to send the user back to the previous page. So that's going to be on the top here. That's this link right here. So we'll replace that. And let's see. So we just have a confirm button. So that's going to be it at this point. So we have our token. Are you sure you want to delete? And then we need to change this value right here with a dynamic object. So we'll take that, throw that in right here. So that needs to be replacing the 100 days of code. So that's going to be our dynamic value. And let's give that a test here. So we'll go back here. Let's delete a comment. We'll just delete looks cool here. So we'll just confirm that. And now that's gone. So now my comment is gone and that's working. So the delete template looks good. So now we just want to update the login and register page. Okay, so in here, let's go ahead and let's see, how do I want to do this? What I think I'm going to do here is just paste in the template. Well, I guess we'll do the same thing. We'll just start replacing bit by bit here. So we'll just take login, we'll bring that in, and we have a login underscore register. So that's our template name, our original one. Let's see, if I go back into the text editor here, we see login underscore register.html. We'll change this to underscore old, and then we'll change login to login underscore register. So we're going to change this information. So this is the new template, login underscore register. And let's just go ahead and get those block tags. So I'm just going to take this from the delete template right here. We'll go back to login register. And let's just remove all of this again. So we'll just take this tag right here all the way down to main, remove that, and then paste that in here, extend it, take the block tag here, remove body and HTML, and we'll just do end block. Okay, so let's take a look at this template here. So end block is not working. Let's see what we have here. End block content. And let's refresh that. Okay, so here is our new login page. So we want to make sure that this works, and then we're going to add in that condition to also render the register page. So back in the new template here, so this is the new layout. Let's see, we have a main layout here. Then we have a container. We have the layout box for the login page. Let's just do this here. So let's take this container and we're going to write our condition around here. So we'll just take this condition and we'll just say if page is login, then we'll render out the login form. So if page is equal to login, then we'll wrap the end if just before the main tag. So we'll just do end if, and then the else statement for the register form. So we'll just do else, and that's going to be the register form. So I'm going to take this div right here. So all of this content. So the entire container, let me just minimize that so you can see it. Let's take this entire container and put that also into the else statement. So now we're gonna modify this. So let's open up the old login register page. So we'll move this right here. Let's make sure we can see both of these. And let's check this out here. So the login form, we'll scroll up here. Let's see, we see the login page. We see the form. So we want to make sure the method is post. So let's take action out right there, leave it blank, set the method to post. Take this CSRF token from the original page. Let's put that into the form. So we have a username. The name is username. This is a text field, so that looks good. Then we have a password. As long as the name is password, that should be good for the login page. So for this sign up link, we're just going to send a user to register. So let's just do URL and then register. And I made one mistake here. I accidentally just updated the register page. So this is in the else statement. So let's just go ahead and take this container, if you happen to do this too, and paste it in right here. So we'll update that register one with the register form. So now if login, we just updated this form with a CSRF token, the action, the method, and the input fields look good. So this should now actually make our form work here. So let's go ahead and try this. So I'm going to refresh that, and then we'll just log in as Dennis Ivy. That's a user. If I log in, that's all working. So we didn't have that much to update there. And if I log out here, let's go back to login. If I click on sign up, well, it's going to be the same page here. So this is what we need to change for the register page now. So inside of the else statement, let's minimize this container right here, and let's open up the container after the else statement. And let's go ahead and change this to register. Then we already updated the form, so that looks good. Then we just need to update this section right here. So we'll just say already signed up. Then we want to prompt the user to log in. And let's go back to our original register form. So I'll just bring that in here so we can see everything. And let's check this out here. So we just have form as P here. So what we're going to do here is just go ahead and do that loop through the form fields, and we're just going to output every single field, and that should be it for the form field here, or the register form. So let's take the password here. Let's get rid of that. So we're going to take this form group here for the password. We only need one because we are going to create a loop. Then we have our submit button, so that looks good. We're just going to go ahead and loop through this field right here. So we're going to say for, or this form. We'll say for field and form. Close out that loop right here. We'll just do end for. So end for. And let's just output the field values. So we'll just do field.label. And then for the field value, well, we don't need to use this input field. We're just going to do field. So this will be our register form, and make sure again it's in the else statement because I already made that mistake. So let's do register here instead of login, and that should be it here. So all the links are good. It says sign up. Let's try to refresh it. So if I go to sign up, it's going to take me to the login form. If I go to register, now it says register, and let's just register a new user. Let's just say Tom here. We'll add in some kind of password, make sure that it's actually working. So nothing on the back end needs to change. An error occurred during registration. Let's try that one more time. So let's just say Todd. I don't think I have Todd. Maybe I already had Tom. And let's see here. Okay, so if I hit enter, now I'm officially registered. I'm logged in as Todd. The register form does work. And I have some landscapers outside, so if they get too loud, I'll try to pause this. There they go. So I'm going to pause it and wait. Okay, the landscaper is done for a minute. That's the thing about landscapers. They always know when you need peace and quiet, or when you're filming something like this, and then they just kind of jump out and get you. They'll hide all week, and then they come out. And also, if you ever find yourself facing a landscaper, they can also smell fear, so never show fear. They'll get you. So that's my personal vendetta against landscapers. Okay, so where the heck were we? All right, so we finished the login and register page, and what I want to do now is do some more cleanup here, and I also want to make sure that this is fully mobile responsive. So there's a few things that you should know about. So when we go to the mobile version of the site here, and right now based on my browser and my zoom, it looks a little bit weird, but you should see something like this here. So let me just expand this really quick. So when we go to the mobile version, the search bar in the header goes away. So this search bar then appears. So these are two different search bars. So I want to configure this search bar and then these two links right here. So as we expand it, we see this search bar go away, then the one in the header appears, and those two buttons disappear. Now, we also have browse topics and recent activities. And the reason why this is here is because we have these two sidebars here. So browse topics and recent activities. And as we go to the mobile version, they disappear. Now, there's different ways of doing this. We could make this like a toggle drop-down option or something that just appears like a modal. In this case, I'm just gonna make these different pages here. So you'll be able to click on this and you're gonna see all the topics in their own page, and so will the recent activities. So these are gonna be their own pages. So let's go ahead and build these in. Also, when we click on more topics, what I'm gonna do is limit these. So we'll limit this to like 5 topics. And then when you click on this, it'll take you to that page, even on the desktop version, and you can see more topics. So let's go ahead and build in this search bar. So this is already built in, but we want to configure it so it actually works. Like at this point, if I click that, it doesn't do anything. If I try to search for JavaScript and start trying to type that in, it won't do anything. So in the home page, in index.html, let me just bring in the text editor here. I don't know why the heck that went away. Okay, so we're going back to the templates folder, and in index or home.html, we're gonna see a search bar somewhere here. So we see the topics component, we see the room list right here, and we see a mobile menu. This mobile menu contains a form that opens and closes right here, and then we see those two buttons right here. So browse topics and recent activities. I just wanted to move that out of the way so you can see that. So let's start with this form. So the first thing is we want to send this form back to the home page. So we'll add in a URL and we're gonna say home. Now the method by default is already get, but I'll just add that in right here. And we just need to add in Q to the name. So that's what's gonna add in that get parameter, and it's gonna send it back to the home page, and that should make it work. So if I refresh this and type in Java, now the search bar works. We see calling all Java developers. So the search bar is now responding to this here. If I go to C#, now we only see C#. Okay, so let's start with browse topics. What we're gonna do here is add in a template. This is gonna be a completely brand new template. We'll make a view and URL for it, and we're gonna link up to that. And then we'll add in some dynamic content. Okay, so let's clear this and let's go back into our two folders. So here we have our theme right here, and here is our Django project. So we're in the templates folder in the base app. Let's go ahead and grab the topics.html page, bring that in. And before we actually start working with it, let's go ahead and take this block and the extension of the main.html file, and let's just open up the topics.html page. So this is the page that we just brought in, and we're just gonna go ahead and start at the doc type again, take everything down to the main tag. So remove everything here, paste in the extension, the block content tag, go down to the bottom here and get rid of everything to scripts, and then add in end block. Okay, so we have our topics page here, and we need to add in a new view for this. So in the views.py file, let's go down to the bottom here and let's create a view for our topics page. And we'll pass in the request object. We don't need this login required decorator right here. So this is going to be available on the home page. So no need to hide this right here. And let's go ahead and do return render. And we're going into request. We're passing in request, and we're going to base/topics.html. Okay, so we also just want to pass in the dictionary right there for the context data. So we'll just pass it in directly like that. And now we need a URL here. So let's just take update user, copy and paste this, and we're just going to change this to topics. So we'll just do topics, and then we'll just call this topics page. So the view that we just created, and we'll just take topics and paste that in right there. Okay, so we have our URL, we have a view that renders that page, and now in the home page, we need to go to this mobile menu. So this mobile menu right here opens and closes down here. We need to update browse topics here. So let's go ahead and update this. So we'll just do URL, and we're pointing that to topics, and let's test this out. So if I refresh this, let's actually also update this more link right here. So we'll update that right away, and then we'll test out both. So in the activity component, or in the topics component, so not the topics page, but the topics component, we see this link tag at the bottom of the page. So we just want to update this too. So I'm going to paste in, or I guess type in the URL tag right here. So we'll just do URL and topics. So we updated 2 links, and now we can test it. So on the desktop version, if I click on more, topics does not exist. So it looks like I messed up that view. This is supposed to be .html, not /. You probably noticed that. Okay, so here we go. So we see browse topics here. So we need to update this page here, and also in the mobile version here. So as we go to the mobile version, we see browse topics. If I click on that, there we go. We can see this search bar and all the information in here. So let's update the template now. So we want to update that backlink and then change this content and make sure this search bar actually works. So we're going to have a search bar for the all the rooms, and then one to search all the topics. And again, this will be updated by the time you see that. So we'll go back here and let's go to the topics page. So topics.html. The first thing is I want to make sure that this backlink right here points to the home page. So we want to send the user back to the home page. We'll just do URL and we're sending them home. So this is on the topics page. Then in browse topics, let's just go ahead and get rid of all the topics except for one. So we'll just take everything from Python down to databases, remove those. Actually, let's leave Python here. So we're just going to get rid of these right here. And what I'm going to do here is go ahead and just pass in topics. So we'll do topics. That's going to be topics.objects.filter. So I need to change that to a capital T, and we're going into topic.objects.filter. So right now, until I add a filter, it's going to work like the .all method. So we're going to add a filter for a specific reason. So then we want to get these topics and we want to pass them into the context dictionary. So we pass the topics in, then we're going to create that for loop and we're going to render this out in topics. So the first thing is for the all method right here, we're just going to go ahead and let's see. We're just going to send the user back to the topics page here. So we'll just do URL and then we'll just do topics. So that's going to be it. And then we just want to output all the topics here. So we'll just do topics dot, let's see. So we're doing topics dot room underscore set dot all dot count. I think that's how we did it in the original one. So if I refresh that, let's see. So we should have 7 rooms. So for some reason that is not updating. So let's go back to the topics component. I want to see how I did that. I actually forgot at this point. So we just did topics.count. Okay, it's already a query set, so I can just do .count. I don't know why I forgot that. So that's a query set, so I don't need to do room set. It's a query set, so I can just do .count. Now, for this one right here, we're just going to loop through all the topics just like we did in the topics component. We're just going to do for topic, in topics, and we're going to add in and end for. So let's close that off here. End for, and let's just grab the topic itself. So we're just going to do topic, and let's go ahead and pass in the URL. So that's supposed to be a variable. So we're doing topic name. Got distracted there. So topic name, topic.name, and then let's see, in the topics component for the actual count, that's where we did topic.room underscore set dot count. Okay, so let's throw that in right here, paste that in for the count, and then the actual URL here, all we're going to do is go ahead and send the user to the home page. So they're going to go to the home page, and then we're passing in the topic into the get parameter. So we're just doing URL home, and then after the curly brace, we're going to go ahead and pass in the question mark, q equals, and then topic.name like that. Okay, so let's try this out. If I go to the topics page, we see all the topics. Let me just zoom out. This is all messed up because of my zoom, so don't worry about this overlay. If I go to Django, it sends me back to the home page. So we don't have any Django topics. Let's try web development. So we'll go back, web development, and that search is working. Now, what if we have a ton of topics? Now, this could happen where we can have, I don't know, 100, 200 topics here. We want to be able to actually search these topics. So you probably don't have to fix this because I'll update the template. If I forget, we'll just go ahead and go into this section right here in the search bar and just type in search topics. So I'll try to make sure that that's fixed before this video comes out. Now in this search bar, we're also going to pass in the name, and the name is going to be Q. So we'll throw in Q, and we're going to send this to the same page. So for the action, we're just going to leave that blank. The method is going to be a get request. So this information is going to be sent back to this view here. So what I'm going to do here is scroll up to the top here to the home page. So we're going to take this request right here, and we're going to pass this down to the topics view. So we're getting that Q lookup method. We're just making sure that we have something there. And then let's just do name, and we'll just do underscore underscore I contains, and then we'll set that to Q. So now if the user searches, that Q method will be sent to the topics page because we're sending that to the same URL, and then we should be able to filter down topics. So let's try this. So if I refresh this, and let's try to search for Java, search that. Now I can search topics, then I can click on JavaScript. And that takes me back to the home page, and that's it for the topics page. So let's quickly just limit these. So let's just do the first 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then C++ and C# will be hidden. So you could try to find a way to organize those by values. There's different ways of doing that. We won't get into that here, but let's just go to the home page. And the landscaper's prowling right now. I can hear him. So I don't know if you can catch that in the video, but let's hope not. So for topics in the home view here, as we render these out, let's just get the index from 0 to 5. So that's how we can limit that, and that'll only give us the first 5 topics in this query set. So if I save this, if we go to the home page, there we go. So that's limited. If I want to see more, I can click on more, and now I can see all the topics, and I can also search the topics. So that's it for this section. What I want to do is also work on the activities component. So when we're on the phone here, when it's mobile responsive, we want to be able to click on recent activities also. So we have the topics, and now we want to click here. So this will also be its own page here. So let's go back to the theme. So we'll open up the theme on the left side, our project on the right side, and let's just take activity.html and we'll drag that in here. So now we have an activity component and an activity template. So we need to make a page here. So let's go ahead and start building this out. We'll just minimize this right now. We'll go back to the home page. Let's just take these block tags here again, and we'll go back to, or we'll go to the activity page. So activity.html, take this doc type right here. So let's grab all these tags all the way down to main. Let's just paste in the block tags, take the closing one, and let's update this. So end block, we now have the activity page. We want to create a view for this. So we'll close out topics, and let's go to our views file. So we'll go to views, and just underneath the topics view, let's just create a new view for activities. Okay, so we'll just do activities page or activity page. So that's gonna store all the information or all the activities that or all the activity on this website, I guess. And then we're just gonna do return, render, pass in request, and then we'll just go to base/activity.html, and we're just gonna pass in some data here. So for the activity, that needs to be a comma. For the activities, we want to query some data. So we'll just do room underscore messages. So that's what's going to be in the activity feed. And we're just going to do room messages because of those flash messages. So we don't want to call them messages in the template. And we're just going to do message.objects.all. So we're getting all the messages, passing those into the template. Then we're going to URLs. Let's go ahead and copy and paste topics here. So let me just make sure my face isn't covering anything. So we're going to topics here, paste that in here, and we're gonna change this to activity. So it looks like my mouse is actually showing, wow, sometimes just restarting your computer works, sometimes it doesn't. I have no idea why that's working, and that probably annoys me more than it not working. When you fix something and it works, but you don't know why you fixed it. Okay, so we have the activity URL, we have the activity view. that renders the activity page. Now in home, inside of this mobile menu, let's go ahead and add in this URL. So we're going to take this topics URL, paste this into recent activities, and we'll just do activity. So activity. All right. Let's see. Let's refresh that. Go to recent activities. And now we have the activities page here. So we can go to its own page, and we just need to update this. So we want to update the backlink here. So we want to change that and then render out real activities. So let's go ahead and go back to the activity page here. And the first thing is I want to set this link right here to go back to the home page. So we'll just add that, set the URL, and that's going to go to the home page. Now for the actual activities, we see this activities page layout here. So this div right here is what contains all the contents inside of the page right here. So we just want to update these. Now we already have these activity components inside of the home page. So what I'm going to do here is just take the for loop here, and I'm just going to bring that into the activity page here. So let me just zoom back in because that's the only way I can get to this page. We'll go back to this size of a screen. And let's go ahead and open this up here. We'll take this activities box. So it looks like that's the name of the wrapper. So we have an opening and closing div right here and one right here. So let's get rid of both of these and let's open up the activity component. So in the activity component, we have this for loop, and it's the exact same thing that we're gonna have in this page. So let's scroll all the way down to the closing for loop, and let's just copy that and let's paste that in here. So into the activities page. So now if I go ahead and refresh that, we're not going to see those right now because I haven't passed those in yet. So back in the view here, we need to take these room messages and we're going to throw those into the dictionary right here, into the context dictionary, and we're just going to pass those in. So now we have all the messages here for the activities. If I refresh that, there we go. Now we see everything. So it looks a little bit weird because it's only supposed to be mobile responsive, and also because of my ridiculously zoomed in screen. So now if I go here, I can see all the activities, and that's supposed to list everything out for the home page. If anything, if this is messed up, I'll make sure to fix this with my designer, but now a user can see activities from the home page. Okay, so topics, we can always go back, activities, we can always go back, and there we go. So that's it for this section. What we're about to do now is move on to building out our API. So we're going to build out our API, and then we're going to work on a custom user model. So before we get into this next section, I want to talk about APIs a little bit here. Now, if you don't know what an API is or what they're used for, I don't want to get into too much detail here because that's something that's a whole topic on its own. I just want to show you how to make one with Django. Now, with Django, we could build out our own API and work with all this JSON data, but that can be a lot of work. And what we have here is this package called Django REST framework built on top of Django. So it's a package specifically for Django, and it makes for building out APIs very easy. Now, just to do a quick summary of APIs, we can use an API to maybe share data with other applications. So in a sense, we can take all this data that we have and we can provide a series of URLs or endpoints that we would call and instructions on how to work with this data. Now, this data would be retrieved usually in JSON format. So if you wanted to work with some kind of front-end framework, or maybe you're building out a mobile application, I actually have a video on YouTube where I use Django and then Flutter to build out a mobile to-do list. It's on my channel. It's on a live stream that I put together. So this right here needs some kind of API data to work with. We need some kind of JSON data. If you want to work with React Native, Flutter, maybe you want to work with React.js or Angular or Vue. These are all front-end frameworks that need APIs. We could use it for that. We can also use it maybe to share data. For example, Facebook has their own API. So does YouTube and Twitter. So if you want to get some data from Twitter, but you don't want to actually go to their website, they have certain APIs that you can go to, read the documentation, and call their data and actually view and modify data in the backend within their database using the API to interact with. So it's a means of communication and a format of how we provide data. So my rough explanation of APIs, let's just go ahead and start building this out. So we're going to start by setting up a simple API, and then we're going to install the Django REST framework, and we're going to get to this. So remember, mobile applications, front-end frameworks, or just sharing data. These are all examples of when you might want to use an API. If you don't know why you need one, Just don't worry about it for now and stick to whatever you're building until you either get requested by your boss to build one or you need to build one for yourself for some reason, and then you can look into it. So if this section is not important, just go ahead and jump to the custom user model modification. So let's go ahead and create our API. Now there's different ways of doing this. We could create a new app inside of our Django project. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create a new folder on its own. So we're not going to run the start app command. I'm just going to go into my base app because it's the only app that we have in our application. And I'm going to create my API inside of this app. So we're going to create a folder called API. And in order to make this work, we first need an underscore init double underscore .py file. So go ahead and do that, double underscore init double underscore .py. Now we are going to need a urls.py file for our API. Our API will have its own URL routing system. So we're going to have URLs specifically for this API. And we also need our own views. So we're going to create a views.py file. And then we're going to need something called serializers. So serializers, it's a word that I always have a hard time spelling. So serializers, I'll explain what those are in a second. So let's go ahead and actually start working with this API. So let's say we want a view in our API, and let's say we would just want to respond with some JSON data when someone goes to our URL. So we could just go ahead and import from django.http. And we're just going to import JSON response. So if you don't know what JSON data is, it's just a format of data. It stands for JavaScript Object Notation. I'd recommend looking into this, but it's a format of how we can provide data here. So we're going to create a function-based view with a Django REST framework. We can also use class-based views. Here we're just going to create a function-based views or function-based view. And we're going to create our first view, and this is going to be called get routes. So this is going to be a view that shows us all the routes in our API. So request, and then let's just return this data. So we'll just do return and then JSON response. Okay, so these URLs or these routes are simply going to be two get methods here. So we're going to pass in the method. So it's going to be a get request. We can also send put, post, delete methods to our API. And this route is going to be API / and we're just getting rooms. So let's say that we want to create an API for people to see all the rooms in our application. So imagine that our website gets huge, it has millions of views, and now people want to access our API and build out their own applications. And maybe they just want to create like a website that just displays rooms on the most popular website in the world, which is StudyBuddy. So they just want to list out all the rooms inside of StudyBuddy. So they make this request to us and we say, sure, we'll make an API for you. So here are the two routes that you can access. This will be like our documentation. So go to API / rooms. That's going to give you a JSON array of objects of all the rooms in our database. And we can control what kind of data gets shown. Then if you want to get a specific room, let's say you want to create like a page for your project or your website, go to rooms and then just go ahead and add in the ID of the room that you want. And that will get you a single object and information about a single room. So we have a very simple API, and this is what we're allowing users to see. Now for this JSON response, we're just going to take this Python array or Python list of strings at this point, and we're just going to throw this into the JSON response. Now for this, we also need to add in a parameter, and we're going to set safe to false. And basically safe means that we can use more than just Python dictionaries inside of this response. So safe is going to allow this list to be turned into a JSON list. So this JSON response is going to convert this data into JSON data. So we now need a URL. So we want to be able to hit this endpoint. So we're going into our URLs file. We're going to import from django.urls, import path. So we need a path here. We also need our views. So remember that we're in the base app inside of API now. And we're going into views here. So we're going into that directory and we're importing all the views. Now we also need a URLs or URL patterns list here. So URL patterns, and I just want to make sure that it's URL patterns, not URLs. Okay, so that's correct. So we'll close this one out. So we're creating our URL patterns and we're going to set a path here. So this path right here is going to be an empty string. This is going to be for our routes. So we're going to tell the user if you go to /API. In fact, let's just add this into our